Welcome to TOOKY'S Sidebar, a book club for Satan's deniers. I'm David.
I'm Gabe, the Ezra Pound of New Wave literary fiction.
I'm Capitalissimo, and I'm embarking on the final stage of the great work. The reddening by the sublimation of fire, the union of spirit and matter, the abolition of man and woman, the transmutation of iron into gold, the Philosopher's Stone. And joining us this week is Miles McNaughton of Unreal Press.
I'm Miles.
Miles, who famously made one good Substack post and then just stopped.
That is not true. All of my Substack posts have been bangers.
Speaking of bangers, this week we're discussing Give Up the Ghost by PCM Christ, published in August 2024. And PCM, or please call me Christ, as some call him, it's a little blasphemous to say out loud, is the recent winner of the Man's World Pulp Competition. Won, I forget what it was, I think it was $5,000 or something like that.
Nice.
For his short story. Yeah.
Let's go.
Which I will not lie, I also put an entry in for that, did not win.
Oh, so he beat you. So
you know, beat is a strong word,
he
maybe
bested you in a contest, in a judged contest. You were judged wanting.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so will that at all color your coverage of his novella, his
I'm
debut
too big
novella?
brained. It's not like I also have a novella out and that I'm salty that mine doesn't get the love it deserves. And,
Maybe if you fucking marketed it.
Yeah, I don't cry every night, except for on this. It might appear on the screen if you're looking at the screen. But anyway, now here to discuss my shilling. But on to PCM. Miles, generous enough to join us tonight. Miles, you're our honorary fourth chair. And it's been a minute since you were on. Last time you were on was for Double Dealer issue 9.
Yeah, it's actually great to be back. I love your guys' podcast. I listen to every episode, even though I don't get to really give you guys the feedback. But it's great to be back. I'm really happy to be back on the sidebar for a guest post. This is legit.
Deep lore, Miles invented the name Sidebar. He's why we're called that.
Yeah, he's why our branding sucks so badly.
So true. It's so bad. But thank you, because we couldn't come up with any name at all before Miles. So
yeah,
mine
Miles,
was-
king
mine
of the
was
mediocre suggestion.
No, fuck y'all. Mine was Tookie's Takes. Tookie's Hot Takes. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Remember Tookie's Hot Takes?
no, I
Remember,
didn't.
I also came up with sidebar shots for any of the shorts you guys were going to do, but those never materialized because you have no content. So.
Yeah, we kind
don't do shorts.
abandoned the whole liquor angle. We used to always say what we were drinking. Amazing
that was a running gag.
amazing how we stopped doing that in just a year.
Another holdover from Unreal Press that started that as well. L.A. Labuschagne used to open up every single podcast episode with what he was drinking. So
Yeah. It was a salute to him. But I actually stopped drinking. I was so drunk on one or two of the early episodes that I didn't realize I wasn't doing a good job. So
We couldn't tell.
Just dial it back. Yeah, yet no one noticed. So what does that say about me? I could do my job drunk.
Well, to be fair, no one could actually tell I was drunk for the Skibidi Toilet episode.
Everyone
Oh,
was
yeah.
drunk.
It was, yes, completely.
Geo didn't. Geo was like, "Oh, you were drunk for this." Geo couldn't tell.
Your
I was
internet friend?
extra eccentric.
Yeah.
My mutual. Thank you very much. Let's give it to her straight. He is my
Yeah.
mutual.
Pretty much
the
married.
only one of us for whom Geo is a mutual.
Yeah.
All right.
But
And also, for what I'm drinking, I got some Appleton Estates with me right now. Some single estate Jamaican rum, master blender.
oh, you're actually drinking tonight. Okay, I'm knocking out a Coke. Just a Coke.
I'm doing 2 bars of Molly, and I'm washing that down with some lime water.
Miles has some jank, a bottle of Jankum in front of him. There you go, real Holla style.
It's got some prism.
honestly,
Authentic Mongolian spirits.
I'm out in Ulaanbaatar, and I've got actually a bottle of goat milk with me tonight. and a glass of
Fermented
water.
mare's milk.
Yeah.
Raw
You know what?
Yes.
You know what? It keeps the stomach happy, so who cares?
All right, but we're having fun catching up. Anyone that clicked this link interested in a review of the book, we always do spoiler-free summaries, generalities at the start. So maybe we'll jump into that, and then after that, we'll do a more go through the major sections of the book, discussing plot and seeing all that. Let's crack this be open, as the kids say.
So the spoiler-free synopsis is that Atticus Remington Scutt is on a mission of justice and revenge after his young cousin is brutally murdered and discovered in a neighboring county. He travels around northern Georgia and parts of Alabama, encounters numerous colorful townies, and has very complicated religious conversations with them of significant esoteric and, let's say, eccentric character, for ultimately meeting his fate and meeting out fate,
or becoming fate, as we all know from good friend William Blake. God only resides in the breast of men who are living.
I was going to ask a question actually, because did we all read the PDF? Because I'll put a link in the bottom under the video. There's a free version of it available on PDF that I would suggest people check out, regardless of whether they want to read the whole thing or not. May as well add it to your library. Did anyone get the print-on-demand version?
Well, I always suggest to support my mutual. Yes, I also supporting my mutuals. I support every single top tugger to purchase our good friend PCM Christ's physical edition. Put some money in his pocket, but I read the PDF version.
Base.
Damn it. I only read physical. I read the print on demand version. I do have it's the regular gloss cover. It is well formatted so that the title and author name are on the spine. It is one of the pocket-sized versions, so it's a very nice format. It's very convenient to read. The margins are a little wonky. They don't go too deep to the center. They're pretty far, but not too far. Like, you don't have to crack the spine. But they are very, very tight to the top of the page, which just looks a little weird, but it doesn't affect the readability at all.
Yeah, and PDF actually worked on my Kobo, which usually they don't. So I don't know what he did, or if there was just some good evil, bedevilment witchery behind it. All right, shifting gears then to the book itself. Let's do spoiler-free generalities, impressions, quick take summary. If someone's just thinking about picking this up, what would you say to that person?
I'll give you the vibe. The vibe is kind of like if Gone Baby Gone was written by John Milton.
That's a good point. Or if God is a killer, wasn't shit.
Right, that's a little harsh. I would not say. It's funny you mentioned the God's a killer parallel, because I think this is very God is a killer.
There are some interesting parallels. But if you want two very, very similarly vibing books, God is a Killer and Give Up the Ghost are definitely in the same pocket. Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost like a nutcell duology.
Oh yeah, the God Pod pairing.
Yep. Yeah.
We should have saw that before.
Give up the Killer.
I thought this was going to be a historical, actually. I thought it was historical fiction until I really picked it up. I have no idea why. Something he had said about it on Twitter.
It feels like it should be. You're right, because there's these two books are the DNA of this novel. The first one is obviously The Brothers K by Dostoevsky, friend of the show, and more of an acquaintance than a friend, William Blake's The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. And obviously, Dostoevsky's a little more oblique, while Blake is obvious. It is intrinsically built into the DNA of the novel throughout the entire story. It is an actual component of the narrative itself.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think The Brothers Karamazov is the... Like, give me a reason.
It's literally the first quote.
So
hast thou the right to proclaim to us even one of the mysteries of the world from which thou hast come? Dostoevsky, right here. And there's some parallels. Pavlovich the father is very much, oddly enough, reminds me of the father in this in the novel. The relationship he has, very much like in Aloysia, because if you remember the scenes, there's Aloysia and Smerdyakov, right, who are oddly enough more mirrors of their father than Ivan or the Chad, whose name escapes me, right? So you got two sons, in reality, the two sons are more like their father than the other two sons. So in a lot of ways, Atticus is the Elisha to what's his father's name? Cyrus? Not Cyrus. It starts with a C. Hold on.
Cillian?
Cillian, yes. And he does give me an actually an Elisha vibe in terms of protagonist so far. He is in that in between action man protagonist and actually sincere reflective mood protagonist. Because I think Atticus has actually quite a strong character in a lot of odd ways.
For
There's
sure.
a lot of micro moments. He's very reflective.
Yeah, he's very reflective. He's legitimately disturbed by the crimes that he sees. He wants justice, but he also, he fears evil because it is alien to him.
Yeah, he's the most normal person here, actually, in the entire universe for all intents and purposes.
I was a little unclear how much the reflection was him versus the narrator, though. That was,
true.
I guess, my like, it's one of the things, I think the book has a lot to recommend it at the paragraph and sentence level. Like, there's a lot of obviously worked on lines. There's a lot of really, I guess, like artistically some novelty in the way some of the phrases are come about that has some cleverness to them. But I think there is a lot of structural issues with the book in terms of like plotting, scene, which is usually not where I have issues with books. But this one, the plotting feels very uneven. And then some of the voice of the writing, I found sometimes it like tripped on its own shoelaces with some of its focus on this sort of, I don't know, it reminded me a little bit of McCarthy. Some of this cribs on some of that older form of speaking.
Well, I mean, okay, so if you're talking about, say, in the opening of the novel, you do get some real McCarthy vibes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
the opening has, I had to Google the term polysyndeton. It has that's when you have like the end.
Yeah.
And which is McCarthy is big on.
It's
yeah.
very
And it's a
biblical.
biblical thing. So it could just purely be a biblical reference as well. But I call that the invoking of the muse of Cormac McGillicuddy at the start. But it actually drops off as the book progresses.
Yeah.
It does.
I
It
found.
does not stay.
Yeah.
It does not stay at all like that.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
I guess to pick up from what David was saying, if you're looking for a book that has, like he was saying, really a lot to offer on the sentence and on the paragraph level, this is a really great book to pick up. He has great imagery, really great religious design in a lot of his sentences and paragraphs. But if you're someone who cares a lot about character, plot, pacing, or especially, in my opinion, the tonal consistency, it's probably a different choice. If you just like to read really pretty sentences, yeah, this is a great.
The prose
book
is
to pick
strong,
up.
and I thought a lot of so he sort of encounters these various characters in there. There are a lot of characters who talk endlessly in a single scene and are never encountered again, right?
Maybe too many.
Yeah.
And
actually.
well, there are just full soliloquies. The protagonist will
They're plot fixtures.
yeah, the protagonist will go to some location or other and receive a soliloquy. Right? It's not even really a dialogue. There's not the protagonist and therefore the audience is being talked at. So
Correct.
that said, the dialogue, the characters none of them speak in the same way. They all are very distinct characters. Some of the soliloquies are phenomenal. Like there's a soliloquy on Waffle House that I love, but they all have very distinct voices.
Yeah, there's a good dialect too. Good Southern dialect. Good back
And they are not the
forth
same
and
Southern
male
dialect either.
Bubba conversation. Yeah. Each one, it definitely does feel very unique. And so the dialogue was often more of a highlight to me. And then the descriptions could be good, but sometimes the one or two I highlighted, I'll probably read as we go through it, where I felt like he tripped on his own shoelaces a little bit, and he tried to be a little bit too elevated.
Right. Well, the Enochian sections, I like to I like to call them the Book of Enoch sections, where especially where Atticus is having his visions.
Right.
It like, you know, like, okay, I get it.
It felt like he was kind of enamored with the idea he had in his head and wanted to put it out on the page and make it this really important, very visual, very meaningful scene. But a lot of it for me, I just ended up skimming over because it was just a little.
I think
too
a lot
much.
of that is a side effect of the plotting issues, though, because a lot of these are characters you have they're abstract characters. Like the woman in the story that's delivered by the angel, holds out the text. Is this man bothering you? The demon angels that has the story of the woman. It's like, this is an abstract concept of faith, which is an abstract concept, being a person, which is abstract, or the children, dead children are abstract children. We don't see the parents or the consequence. There's a lot of because there's so many people in a fairly short. It's a novella. It's a long for a novella, but novellas are short. Those descriptions, they lack. It doesn't grip you as much because of that as well. So I would say
it lacks impact.
Yeah.
Well, and also the problem with descriptions in a lot of ways is that the world and the narrator seems to be in conflict, right? Because the narrator itself, he will choose long lines to describe. The narrative voice will actually do things like describing, like instead of it's supposed to be the theme is supposed to be about religion and faith. The main protagonist's father is a religious man who was a pseudo-Christian, but he believes that William Blake's Marriage of Heaven and Hell is canonical, and a lot of William Blake's poetry is canonical. And so he, of course, is a quote-unquote cultist with a quote-unquote compound in the Appalachian Mountains. And his son inherited his father's, dare I say, gifts to look into the quote-unquote void, and he also he still pseudo believes in a lot of ways. He still intrinsically believes in his father's religion, which is a very atavistic version of William Blake Christianity. And so, of course, you expect the characters of the father and him to a certain degree to have a very, quirky dialogues about this kind of thing, and have a certain style of prose. But the problem is the narrative voice, the POV, or the voice of the author himself, also tends to get lost in the sauce, if you will. A good example of this is this single line, actually. Quote, "Destinations cliff-faced like clowns painted in the blood of the lambast," which is
There's a lot of the lines where he was very clearly reaching, and in my opinion, a lot of the soliloquies as well. I think this author is extremely well read on religion. I think that's very, very clear, and his stamp, his own voice is very clear in this book, which is a huge plus. A lot of people prefer, like a death of the author sort of approach to their writing style, which I think is a great tragedy. But that issue is that it matters so much to him, right? All this idea that he's writing and presenting, but when it comes to the layperson who doesn't share his fervency for this sort of religious text, it can be really overwhelming and very easy to skip.
Overwrought.
And then the book sort of, the book becomes almost like a cheap spectacle. Like, oh, here's another 4 or 5 pages of the guy selling peanuts talking about God and heaven and hell, and I just don't care. I've read this for like 130 pages. Let's just get on to the rest of the book.
Or a fat, ugly lesbian is pumping iron in front of him, and it's supposed to be a funny scene. Remember this? And then he's like, "Oh,
yeah.
He could not smile at the face of the dark oblivion."
Yeah, and I find a lot of the religious themes in this book really overdone and just kind of hokey. It's kind of how I felt when I was watching Longlegs recently. Yeah, go ahead, blow up my Twitter.
Is that just us though? Because I feel the same, but I don't know if it's just because I hate that the trope of the preacher man. Like I find it exhausting.
Wait, do you mean the Joel
it's a bad
Osteen
trope.
one, or which?
Just all of them. I find the father, Cillian, and again, this is not this
like the
book.
father
This is
a lot,
this is
actually.
every character that fits that archetype. I find them extremely exhausting after like 2 sentences.
Yeah, it lacks impact for me. It doesn't have like the true authentic soul of someone who's in a real religious struggle. It seems to be built up from nothing, like a manufactured religious struggle, whereas someone who's actually struggling seriously with a faith has a very different approach to all these things. And he seems to be the author is really enamored by this idea of God and faith and good and evil, black and white. I mean, he talks about this dimerism a lot throughout the entire book. And for me, it just always came off as really better off in like the Summa Theologica than in a book about like a struggle with faith.
It's a commentary on William Blake's. It's the binary between heaven and hell, the unity between the material existence and the divine, and experiencing the divine on earth.
I guess, but
and also I'd like to push back just a little bit on some of the prose, because when the prose hits. There's this one about the metaphysics of baseball and how it kind of just feels intuitively divine, and even in the Blakean sense that he builds up. And we'll get to it later. Well, I would love for Cap to recite it.
There's a couple things about. So I want to make a couple points. First, as far as binary, dualistic opposites go, that's a deliberate theme in the book, because there's hermetic references in this. That's why in the end of the book, and I'm just going to spoil this, the devil's a big troon. Like, it's the union of opposites. All of the three witches are women who are pinning Test. And like, it's an attempt to, form the hermaphrodite, which is an alchemical figure.
It is a horrible ending.
The ending does leave a lot to be desired, but that particular thing is the righteous understanding dualism, and the unrighteous or esoteric attempting to, which esoteric is not necessarily unrighteous, it's just hidden. But in this case, the unrighteous are attempting to remove barriers. The devil says, "Do what thou wilt." So, you're removing barriers between things. You're eroding distinctions. That's the thematic element. It doesn't really, like, I think that the ending does fail to gel. But that theme is running consistently through the story.
Would you say the ending left you hanging?
Nice.
Well done. Yeah. Just like the moss. The final chapter, the paragraph was it the moss was hanging like it was lynched. I was like, okay, yeah, I get it.
The moss was hanging like lynchings. Like that lynching, like what we just saw.
I just
1 sentence ago. Yeah, remember that?
He said the line. He said the line.
Say the line, AR.
I just don't understand how you can write a book detailed with this much of a plot, because there's very clearly a plot to it, and then pull a total rug pull at the end. And
I don't think it's
from a craft standpoint, I think it was very insulting, and I was very angry.
We'll get to that. I guess
when we do the summary,
we'll get to that. But we will. I would love to delve more into the prose, even recite some. I think some of the prose is actually really, really, really good. But for God, can we let the viewers know what the main protagonist's name is? Even
we have said it.
We did.
Atticus Remington Scott.
Scott, our friend Scott.
Yeah.
AM.
Well, should we put a pause in generalities and we can just start diving into it?
Yeah, I think it's time we dive into the plot, boys, because a lot of this can be organically put into as we go along.
Yeah, I think a good summary there. The vibes, hopefully you picked up. There's some big ideas. We like a lot of the writing at the line level. We had some accusations of what was overwrought was Miles's term. Of overwroughtness.
No, my turn. Overall is mine. Overall was mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so hopefully that gives you a good sense. Download it regardless. Consider buying it, and like Gabe didn't. And I didn't either. I read a PDF as well, and we'll dive into it.
All right. So the book opens on a funeral. The young cousin of our protagonist, Atticus Remington Scott, has been murdered, found, horribly mutilated, and the family is pretty busted up about it, as one might imagine. I do want to read the opening for you, because I think it is a strong section.
Agreed. Go ahead.
They all stood there with tears of perspiration pouring down their faces, while the preacher dotted the corners of his mouth, and then his forehead, like preacher men do. And he said that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, and to everything there is a season. And Osby was gone, but she lived on in memories and legacy, and she'd be seen again someday when they meet on that heavenly shore. Amen. Written in one long Corncob McCormick-esque sentence. We shall sing on that beautiful shore the melodious songs of the blessed, and our spirit shall sorrow no more, not a sigh for the blessings of rest. Atticus Remington Scott bowed his head, mouthed an amen, and made his way back across the lawn of Stone Church, established 1823. Originally a hand-built wooden chapel of a step, a door, a sanctuary, and now a stone building with windows and a modest steeple, it had served as a garrison of God's will and presence long before Lincoln's War and had continued since. And so that... I think that's basically the first page, and as far as that goes, I think it's really well crafted because it uses it really gives you your setting very quickly, right? We know we're in the South. We know this is a place of refuge. This is a God-fearing place, and thematically throughout the story, his home, the place where his family is from, is a place of refuge. The mountain his father lives on is a place of safety that he wants to return to. Osby, his young cousin, was murdered when she left the refuge of home and descended, literally descended from the hills into basically the city. And of course it sets us in the South because it's Lincoln's War. So
yeah, the first chapter is firing on all cylinders for sure. Go ahead.
No, I was about to say because and also known as Lincoln's War. This is from a purely nativist Southern POV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like this is the POV. This is what we're working with. Like it's great. It's establishing the frame very well. So after the funeral, his uncles come to him and they're like, you young Atticus are God's swollest soldier. And so we're going to send you down the mountain, and you are going to dispense justice. We're not gonna wait for the cops. You're gonna kill whoever did this.
The important note here too, one of the main reasons they say it is because his father had foretold.
So yeah, of course. His
before.
father is accused of being a cult leader. He is definitely a mystic of some stripe. Lives on a mountain with his two wives. Previously, many more before the federales got involved. So that's the vibe of preacher man we're working with here. But he has visions, and his father predicted the death of Osby to the day. Could not have done it. Is not a suspect. And it's also known that Atticus has something of the same gift. Atticus is prone to have visions.
Is it stated why the father can't? I know it's I guess like an allusion to him being God. He's a God figure, so he has to remain upon his mountain. Mm-hmm. But is there like a stated reason why the father can't leave the mountain?
Well, it's
his compound. It's
Atticus's, like, that's his burden. He's the one like that.
Yeah, he's assigned because it's. I thought there was a mention that his father couldn't leave.
He is the elect. Like, he is the one. Like, this is his duty. And his father says that. His father, like, the minute that his father hears that his uncles have asked him to do this, he's like, everything has been leading to this moment. Like, this is providence. Like, you are the instrument of God. So
yeah, and also he's too busy making strawberry jam to go in.
Yeah, so he's also making strawberry jam and pecan pies and moonshine with his two wives. So,
kind of cozy. That's the Jeffersonian lifestyle that FDR took away with the New Deal.
To quote the book, God bless mountain mamas.
So he yes. So he goes down the mountain. There's a nice section of him driving from North Georgia over to Alabama, where most of the book takes place. And he meets up with his cousin, who is I don't know if he's a cop or I think he's a law enforcement. I don't think he's the sheriff.
Yeah, he's like number 2 or number 3.
He's like a police sergeant or something like that. Yeah. He's, his cousin knows what's up, and his, realizes that Atticus is there to as a quote unquote consultant. So they're pulling a family card to make sure the business gets done.
And the cousin's boss, he's kind of like a Chad.
No, his name is
Boss. Yeah, his cousin's name is Boss.
Yeah, good part to clarify. He's sort of like a Tom Buchanan, but he was like right in the author's view too. Like he's like this. Yeah, he's like Glory Days behind him.
Peaked in high school.
Yeah, little peaks, but he's actually a good dude. He believes in AR. He is on Atticus's nickname is AR. He's like on his side from the start in an unofficial capacity, because I'm sure the sheriff has no idea he's running around with this dude.
Right. Yeah. Just trying to execute. Yeah. Getting this guy in crime scenes and interviewing witnesses and trying to find who the perpetrator and execute them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And looking back here, if you noticed, the prose is almost pure pulpy. It doesn't, because there is a prose change. No, right. It's coming a little bit soon in our roundup. But in terms of prose style, right now it's just pure pulp / McCarthy.
What do you mean when you say that?
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm saying it comes, like, for example, that wonderful scene where he describes his uncles. They're wearing Johnny Cash black. The description of characters. Or there's this one quote I'm looking at right now. Which I'll just read it out. He cruised around the mountain like old memories. Arms out the window, cigarette in his lips, glow on the dashboard, beer in his lap, baseball on the radio. Who needs heaven half the time? Stuff like that. There's a lot of good personality, and I just want to point that out. There is a lot of good, like, personality prose, as I call it, that you see it very strongly here, but it does get mutated. Some would say for the worse, some say for the better. A little later on from this recap.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with your phrasing of it as pulp to whatever, but it does change. Like this, from chapter 1 until, I'm not sure when exactly. Maybe like around when he starts dating like the girl Marilyn's around. Some like that section is much more, I don't know what. It's a different, the writing style shifts significantly from that section to the latter like 2/3 or half.
Yeah.
How would I even describe it? It becomes more conceptual in the second half. The prose is a little more character focused in the first, to your point. And I think that's what I liked about it. Like in chapter 1, there's a lot more. It feels like, so it's third limited. It feels like it's a tighter third limited in that portion. And then it gets like a looser third where it's more like the narrator speaking to you the second half of the book.
And pontificating metaphysics. There's less pontification of metaphysics. It's much more focused. It's narrow. You see Atticus. And Atticus is a very strong character in chapter 1. He sees the death of Asby, and he starts weeping and crying in the car. He starts actually like very, very emotionally distraught. You can see it physically. It's like, God damn it, she was only 12. And you can actually see him. He's not actually cool, calm, and collective. This is not like protagonist man. This is Atticus, a man whose niece just died or cousin just died. And so you actually feel the emotions with him. So it actually starts off with a good foot with knowing that your character has nerves and those nerves can be touched. I liked the solid emotional opening.
Well, so let's continue on. But Atticus does continue to be affected by the things he sees. He is not an ice man, right? He and Boss end up.
Well, they get coffee first, right? Like first they like get coffee the first of 100 times. A lot of coffee and cigarettes, which I dig. It kind of has like a noir vibe.
Yeah. The first thing that they go do is talk to the person who found Osby's body. So he's
Mr. Weinstein.
So Mr. Weinstein. Yes.
You can't put that in a book. A Jewish character.
Jewish character. Yeah, no. So yeah, he's down from New York, and he's there. He was bird watching. He was going to find the Chuck Willow's chick or something like that. Chuck Will's chick. And I did look up this bird. It is a real bird.
Very brown.
And there is a theme in this book that of the great devourer, right? This demonic presence that is to which many things are ascribed. Chuck Will's chick is a bird that is notable for the massive proportion of its mouth. So it's a bird that's approximately the size of like a grackle or something, like some sort of like trash bird you'd find anywhere, except effectively its entire skull can open. Like it could swallow its own head. Its mouth is that big.
I need me a woman like that.
So, God, I wish that was me. So they go and talk to Weinstein. They see that he's got some fat bitch in the car with a mohawk. Weinstein is very upset. He does not like that he has experienced this. Weinstein did not do it, basically. They get a call that they have found that more kids have been found. Or rather, so they leave. They go shoot some guns. They talk about zombies and how the thing that's scary about zombies is that they're never sated. They can't be sated.
In films they always tear away the flesh, but you never see them swaddle. You never see them truly eat. It's just tearing away.
But this is the first sign that like some of the pacing can be wonky, because there's no reason for them to just like go to the range here. Like there's no particular reason. They get a call, and they find that there are some more kids who have been killed. They go to a what do you call it?
It's a shed. It's a little farm. It's
this
and it's
shed
with,
in the middle of fucking nowhere because someone heard a pig rooting around, or someone called in some feral hogs rooting around, and they're full. There's 6 kids who have been brutally mutilated in there, and they're ritualistically strung up, and some pig has been eating them.
Foreshadowing the zombie thing. I just got it for this zombie thing.
Yeah, the zombie thing was well. There's this endless hunger theme of evil throughout the book, and as we've already stated, the eventual perpetrators is a coven of obese bitches, witches. I meant witches.
Literally obese Wiccans,
yes.
like Wiccan bitches.
And
it's hilarious.
And they do mention at one point there's too much shit in here for one pig. So basically they're foreshadowing that there are multiple perpetrators here. They hear the pig outside. They go to hunt down the pig. Atticus is on his way back to the car because Boss doesn't want him to get involved. Fortunately, he's still carrying one of the guns from the range, and he is attacked. He is attacked by the pig. It knocks him down, but he proceeds to like fight it, and there he experiences a vision while he is fighting this pig, and the pig is this. Let's see.
Actually, it's a boar.
Yeah, well, a kind of pig. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't say it was a sow.
No, because boars don't have pink skin. Pigs have pink skin.
Okay.
Is that the distinguishing feature?
It's a feral hog. It's called a hog. So The hog lay on its side, huffing hellfire, and already its beady eyes became the doors of a fiery furnace, arsenic and brimstone rising in wild vapors with every constriction of its orifices, and the trees above blazed as green torches, shading the sky the color of the green below, and all that was alive had their thread towards heaven, and the beast began to swell, and its eyes popped dark juices, and its stomach, filled with the gluttonies of death, tore wide. Its stench and fire grew, consuming each thread in amorphous conflagrations of organ red and pit blacks, climbing ever heavenward, becoming the writhing energy of absolute power, and the cosmos and its accompaniments were swallowed up by the whole of Babylon and imprisoned inside its pearly gates, and thereafter, with a shining chorus of the converted, it sing-songed, Great Devourer, devour her, almighty I might E, feast, fest, for flesh, big best the breast, demon, we one, here lies the son, and he'll call for hellions in my name, they come.
I feel like I'm dating a Baptist girl in high school, and she dragged me to like her dad's sermon, and I just have to sit there as he like screams, red-faced, spittle flying over the front row. And I'm just,
did that make you hungry?
Like,
you might be evil.
It's just too much. It made me hungry.
Miles is the great devourer.
It's just way too much.
It was a lot, and it was the first sign that maybe it was overwrought in sections. Yeah.
It's his first real vision quest, because remember when he goes to up atop the mountain to meet his Zarathustra of a father, that's where the pinpoint of this novel, the thread that goes through the entire novel is The Marriage of Heaven and Hell by William Blake. And so he meets his dad, and of course he's living the boomer lifestyle. He's got 2 girlfriends. They offer him pecan pie. He's chain smoking. He's living his best life, but he is genuinely worried for his son, and he gives his son his car, a 1971 Chevy truck, whatever. And he tells about the Void. Their vision quests are called the Void. And the thing what happened with the pig is actually a rather intense vision quest from the Void. And so, and he's playing, and obviously it's the pig starts playing the boar. The boar starts playing the fiddle.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, it is. He takes out.
No, he doesn't.
I know he dances.
He dances, and he starts playing a string that is its entrails spilled and began to dance and tramp upon tiny hooves, cramming its jaws with dangling intestines, chewing as it leapt around. And it ended up, it looped its intestines around its tusks and started playing it a tune on its own guts, on its tusks,
like a fiddle.
And also, so it is. Number one, that's not how a fiddle works, but he does make a reference. The beast pulled out a bow and sawed with wild abandon and an evil hiss, which is a quote. And this chapter is called what? The devil went down to Georgia, and that is a direct quote from the Charlie Daniels song.
To be fair, you actually can pluck a fiddle. It's called pizzicato.
Did you guys?
Right again.
I stepped away for a moment. Did you guys mention the phone call and like the vomit?
The guy's vomiting? No,
I thought that was worthy. Not a big deal. It's just one of those funny lines that stuck out to me where he gets a phone call and it says he picked up the phone. On the other end, all they could hear was the sound of Ben vomiting. It's just like, the mental image of that is just like these. Like,
you get a call.
Like,
hello.
Up in
I can't imagine being a police officer and you show up and see, oh wow, these kids have been like, eaten and murdered, and you just have the entire police force
destroying the crime scene,
in the background.
Because
wow, forensics shows up there throwing up in their fucking latex gloves. It's like the Terrifier 2 is back in theaters. Okay, maybe
a bunch of cops
TV
vomiting all over the
now.
place actually just makes me think of the end of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective when they reveal that Finkel is Einhorn. And that is an old man reference at this point.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Shout
doesn't
out,
that-
friend of the show,
God, I feel
Prudentialist.
so old.
Well, actually, doesn't that movie star the guy from the Sonic the Hedgehog movies?
Fuck you. Fuck you, Gabe.
Paul.
Yeah, right? I mean,
Took me a second. I almost bit that hook. Almost bit it.
he's very good in those films. I wish I saw any of those movies. But no, this is actually a great scene because the barn is also covered in
Well,
cod's.
okay, my criticism here, and this is generally the case with the dream sequences, is that I don't actually think that they are a huge enhancement. I think
Wheel
that
of Time reference coming.
Oh no.
Wheel of Time reference. Did you just say? I think that the themes in the story, I think that like the themes of devouring and destroying distinctions I think that they're better told in the sections that aren't the dream sequences. I think PCM got really into like writing with this level of bombast,
Symbolism, crazy like poetic flow and focusing on that, and
I mean
agree.
it's a
Those
flow
pages could have been
state. Like there's
donated
definitely a
somewhere
vibe
else.
there, but I don't think that it actually, I'm not like I don't think that absolutely everything you say in a book has to directly advance the overall plot, but I do think that it's they're like these eddies in the story where you're just holding in the same position and hammering on the same theme ad nauseum.
Yeah. When nothing in it is going to matter very much. It's all symbolism and imagery that's not real. It's theoretical things that the character is theorizing about, and then necessarily that can't have direct consequences on the plot or the next step. And so I agree. It's one of those. I'm not a purist about. I'm not an anti-dream maximalist, but it is one of those like ticking time bomb where whenever one starts, I kind of start. You have like a page before I'm ready to bail.
Yeah, and this section is like 2.5 pages of this pig.
But I think the pig works, though. I think it is downright, dare I say, Lynchian. I think it works. I do think it works. That it's because in this time, the hyper description, the hyper metaphysics actually congeals to something that's actually plot related, right? The pig is actually a real thing that's happening. There's action
Not the
involved.
dancing though. Yeah.
The dancing is part of his void vision. That is true, right? But the overall theme and what the pig says, even it ties into the devourer. And actually, this is layers, right? Because for example,
Gabe, I literally just said that. Like you're what I'm saying is that you're hammering on the same themes that the previous scene did.
Already
the previous scene,
established.
you already did this. You already had that whole thing. You already had all of the same themes that you talked about in the setting of the mutilation shed. I think that
it's more as a start too.
And
right?
to be clear, the pig one does not really overstay its welcome.
Yes.
no, not at all. It's brief, actually.
Yeah,
It's just nice as a punch.
It's like 2.5 pages. It's fine. There are later ones that are much more indulgent.
Yeah, this one
True.
just
He
puts
does-
one hoof out of the line. The other ones go full bore.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I think there is a lot of indulgence in this because in this scene, so they just got finished shooting, right? Because they have the guns. One's called a communist name, like
Chekhov.
It's like I know you mount
The AK
Chekhov,
is
right?
called
Because I know
Chekhov. Yeah, you mountain folk
Chekhov
are
and
half
Yeah, and the dialogue is great. I want to give one big kudos. The banter, shake, rattling, and rolling. Those damn New Yorkers, right? It doesn't go full Yellowstone like parody of Southerners, but it keeps that flavor, that twang, and the banter is on point between Boss and AR. The banter is great. I love the banter a lot. And in this scene, right, I think it is very indulgent, but it's a very indulgent, it's like a hyper indulgent. You know what a Ferrero Rocher is? Those chocolates?
Yes.
It's that.
Yes, I've been to a Walgreens.
Don't correct him, Miles. Don't correct him.
Yes, I've been to I've been to a Walgreens and seen Ferrero Rocher.
Ferrero Rocher is a delicious chocolate. This is if you want to taste a sample.
It's actually full of seed oils.
Okay, imagine a non-seed oil version of the Ferrero Rocher. It's this scene. So they just came back talking about the endless devouring zombies, right? They come to the shed. What is the shed covered with, by the way? He actually uses it by name. He doesn't use vines. No. It's a wooden structure.
Oh, it's covered in vines. Gluttonous vines.
Yeah, kudzu. He even uses it by name.
He does not say kudzu.
Yeah, he does say kudzu.
He does. It's in the book.
It is.
Really?
Yeah, kudzu is a line it's a word in the story.
I think we might have a skibbity toilet situation with Cap. I think he might be a fake PCM Christ fan here.
Oh, kudzu had claimed every inch of the area, building space and trees, leaving only the sky out of reach. Yep.
I would like to interject and say this is actually also a very good scene with one of my big gripes, which is the pacing inconsistency. I think it's in the previous chapter where AR has one of his first revelations, and it just kind of comes and goes when he's in the attic of his dad's compound. It comes and goes in a paragraph. It's suddenly on him and then it goes away. And then in this chapter, when they're chasing the hog, it's done in basically 5 lines, 5 fairly short paragraphs. And then it's wrapped in this really rich, time freezing kind of prose wrapped in the dream sequences. And it was giving me really bad whiplash. It was a sign of things to come for sure, because the rest of the book is very much like this. But
because it's so overwrought. Right? That's the problem. I 100% agree with you with. He goes full metaphysics here, right? And it's earned though. It is earned because it builds up, right? And also, the pigs don't actually even fully eat the children, right? We're calling back to the zombie thing, right? And so it's a constant sense of devouring, of decay, of rot, and just tearing apart while there's some base material still remains. You don't even get nothingness. You don't even get nirvana. You're still just left. Parts of you are left to decay. The pigs don't even die. The pigs just go down and sink in the river.
I
think he just lacks the ability to properly discern the pacing on a scene-to-scene basis.
And now, I would like to compare real quick. I want to compare what Cap just wrote out, right? Because it's very metaphysics. He's trying to flex a lot of deep symbolism, going full Max McCarthy, right, with the symbolism. And I want to compare that just to this little scene when he's in his what Miles said in his father's attic. It's just a quick little description. He crawled, panting, back to his desk and mindlessly rolled the cigarette. With the storm raging on, he gazed at the shapeless, hulking forms of his bookshelves, then licked the paper closed. A brief flame haunting his features before he leaned back, sending smoke signals towards heaven. Right, and it's a great little line. It's a small amount of prose description. He's around in the shadows. He is anxious. He has a deep anxiety of the world around him. This is when he fears the darkness, because the darkness comes to the void. But when he smokes, it's smoke signals towards heaven, right? Smoke is in this novel is very associated with heaven. Later on, he described the ghosts of the children who died in this scene are burnt into his memory like vapors, right? You can see the vapors of them in the headlights. Right, and so the imagery of him using the cigarette as smoke signals towards heaven, it adds the spiritual element. The metaphysics is still there. It's not just mindless prose porn. It's not just for style. It actually ties into metaphysics, but in a very subtle way. So he does it maximum style like he does with the pig, or medium style like he does with the kudzu zombie and the pig, but he also does it in the minimum style, which is the smoke signals while he smokes, right? The way he describes even smoking. It is a very nice touch.
Yeah.
And the thing is, The books are littered. I have a bunch of quotes looking at me right now, and it's very good. I like a lot of these quotes. But the problem is that the narrative voice, the voice itself, drowns it out. He tries to have every line seem profound and deep and complicated. It would be much more interesting if he took a Lynchian approach. If he wrote it, dare I say, Carver-esque or Hemingway-esque. The voice is very objective, but the characters and the way he talks or way Atticus talks is very profound or like this, rather than the narrator having to do it. Because he has all this teaching of his father, who he memorizes by heart. He can memorize the entirety of William Blake by heart. I can easily buy him talking like this. But the thing is, when the voice of the entire novel itself speaks like this, it gives the entire universe a filter that makes him and his father and his whole little narrative a little less special.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on something key. There is some kind of distinction between Atticus and the narrator, and I agree. The narrator is tiresome sometimes, and he gets more dominant, and he gets less associated with Atticus as the book progresses, and that's one of my bigger issues. Actually, my only issue on the character side. A lot of the characters I think are great, but Atticus himself, I feel like we lose him as the book goes on because the narrator becomes so dominant. And it's like, is Atticus, this 23-year-old guy, is he thinking these extremely elaborate thoughts in the same wording and framing? And it's like, I don't think he would. And some of the things he says later don't jive with my image of him. Like, he becomes a little bit more of a generic
Jamaican?
generic.
At one point, he just
Jamaican
starts
hero,
calling
man.
everyone man.
He does live with a drug dealer.
I never did go to there.
Yeah. All right, but I don't want to dwell on this one too long. We've been on the dead kids for a while.
And for what it's worth, we've been recording for an hour and we haven't even met Marilyn yet.
Let's get to the dead women. Let's go.
So
let's get to the Goth GFs. Come on.
Okay, so after he kills the pig, he goes to he recovers a little, follows up with his cousin's wife, ends up going to hang out with his and this is a little weird, right? This is a little jarring here because, and this is kind of a pacing issue actually, again, where he's with the pig, kills the pig. He and his cousin split up. He calls his cousin's wife, and his cousin's wife says, we're staying out of town for a little bit. Boss is really fucked up about those kids, and he's staying at our lake house. Can you go to him? He went
berserk at the crime scene and used a murder weapon to smash a chain.
Yeah, he was too fucked up about seeing it, and so he went to go stay at his lake house. But it was just weird that they lost each other. Like we fade to black and then they have to go find each other again. Like, why did we do it this way? So
even at the scene like within chapter scenes, actually, on this plotting, consistent issue we're having, there was a lot of times where people would say unnecessary stuff like, "Oh, I'll text you after," or "I'll call you and then I'll meet you there." There was a lot of extra elaboration on the logistics in between that wasn't necessary, that I think could be cut on future stuff.
The only time it mattered was when Marilyn said, "I've got a thing after work, but let's do something later." Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she was late by the time he saw her again.
Just hit. Oh, that's so bad.
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
What's in the box?
Hey, oh man, no, it's the monkey's paw. Man, I wish I had a trad southern girl in the wheat fields. Meadows?
Monkey paw.
I wish I had a meadow GF.
So, anyway, he goes and spends some time with his cousin. They reminisce. He fucks off after that.
In that scene, he comes off as non-binary boss. That's the problem. You remember that scene?
Where? Oh, no. What do you mean?
I don't remember this.
Okay. Okay, so they drink a little bottle. They get very good character moments, and then suddenly a boss becomes metaphysical. That's it. It's a little bit the Holy Hunt situation.
Oh, at the lake, right? They're sitting on the pier or whatever. Yeah.
Like he says.
Christ! I forgot about that. Yeah.
Boss comes out as non-binary, right? Because his father, and they get very good motif. He compares his dad's truck to a chariot of fire, right, falling from the heavens, and now it's casting him down to hell. And he talks about the Japanese kamikaze men, burning all. You're only by dying, you're just accelerating your way down to hell, basically going into the waters. And he's using his metaphor of hell, and then Boss gets triggered.
And he says, all this binary fucking bullshit, water, fire, light, dark, dead or alive, God, devil, good, evil. He pulled his sidearm out of the holster and waved it wide in an erratic fashion at the sodium vapor sky to the east. I'll kill all you motherfucking cocksuckers. Come down here and I'll fuck your shit, fucking cowards. Leave your godhood. I'll drink your blood, you pussy faggots. Die.
Yeah, boss.
Based, honestly.
Boss is the boss.
And then he tries to.
It's a great scene.
And then he tries to shoot, but his safety's on, and he tries again, and he keeps trying to pull, but he's not disengaging the safety, and then he just drops his gun and sits down.
Moment passed. Whatever.
In this video game, sadly, all white characters have the trigger discipline trait, which makes them less likely to self-damage, but less likely to shoot. It lowers their speed damage, so they can't shoot as quickly as other races, because they always have their safety on.
Well, there's only white people
Fallout
in this, so...
Oh, yeah.
There may be... I think there's a Leo Frank character in here.
There is Weinstein.
Yeah. White.
So
anyway, we love you, Mr. Thiel. Anyway, let's
So anyway, after that, AR leaves, goes to find a gym, ends up encountering, a dreadlocked woman, fat and swollen, entered the gym. She lumbered in, unsmiling, with her arms and fists tight to her side, going directly to the deadlift station where she loaded her bar and began, staring at AR as she lifted. With each rep, she sent challenge through her eyes. So this fat bitch tries to, and I interpret this as a fat white chick with dreadlocks, by the way.
Ooh, really?
Yes,
I've been thinking about the races of these women, because he purposely leaves it ambiguous.
Yeah,
and especially with the ending, I'm very curious.
Yeah. That's how I interpret it anyway. Anyways, this bitch tries to sell him roids. And he's like, no. And she keeps trying to sell him roids. And he keeps saying no. Now.
Oh, and don't forget, she also makes sure to show him the plot device she has on his arm.
Oh, the dagger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wicked things come in threes.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Wicked things come in threes. That's right. That's right. So yeah, and so the fat dreadlocked woman and the woman we saw with the mohawk earlier do end up being part of the fat bitch coven.
Fat bitch trio.
And there's 3 fat bitches and
that'd be a great band
and
name.
a tranny devil. So
I would.
Yeah.
So that encounter happens. That's when we get that little soupçon of a clue. And then he goes to speak to Joel Osteen.
Yes, I love this one. This was poor Morrowind dialogue box. This is the
Dagoth talking at you.
Yes.
Continue.
No, this is what's worse. Like, you're playing a New Vegas quest mod. You go there, the character, there's he has lore dialogue and he has quest dialogue. Like, hey, I need you to find out what happened to my daughter. You try to click my daughter, but you actually click the lore question.
Yeah.
And you just get a wall of text.
Yeah.
About the lore, the philosophy.
I read this one as like a I want to read one paragraph of this, but there's like actually 5 pages or something here, and eventually, but here's just one paragraph. Catechism itself was folly. Only creation was an expression of divinity, for only morality could be experienced intuitively. Why, God's first act was to create, but he could only do so by creating the finite, and so God himself in his eternal glory could not express what is intuited through the interrelation of our sense and consciousness, and that what is finite and mortal was therefore beyond God. Blasphemy! And then at the end of, and this goes on for like 10 times that length, AR stood, what in the fuck does that have to do with your niece? Because he is there because Joel Osteen's niece was one of the kids in the mutilation shed,
murder house. Yeah.
And essentially, this guy is saying he's not. He essentially says he's not concerned about assisting AR because God will ensure that there is justice in this life or the next, and also, by the way, AR, your dad Cillian fucked my sister and my first love, and those are the two women who are living with him, eating pecan pie right now.
Yeah. He alpha widowed this guy. Basically.
Yeah. So this guy.
No. Not only that, you gotta read the other parts. What AR says to him right before he leaves.
Which section? Look,
I'm sorry.
Listen, I know you're all in your feelings about my daddy fucking your girl, your mama, aunt, sisters, and probably even your grandma. And I'm sure your own personal daddy wanted some of that shit too. But I'm trying to find out who murdered these kids. And my next step, I identify thee, devil. Get thee behind me. AR, stunned with disbelief, left without retort. So
it's great. At least he responds like a normal person. I think PMC acknowledged that he was doing a lore dump. He acknowledged the Morrowind text box problem. So he's like, AR just like, what the fuck? And the thing is, the Osteen character is very strange because Osteen, like from ever I knew him, the meme is that he doesn't give a fuck about religion. He's a con man, the typical Christian con man. Wealth, money is actually good, bro. Trust me, the Bible says so, right? But this guy actually seems to genuinely believe in his bullshit.
Yeah, no, he's a true believer.
Yeah,
which is odd because the setup is it's a big stadium church. You got the girl made of it. His office is like marble and very bourgeois and bougie, and so it sets it up as an old.
There is one good line here where it's that I'm not going to say that Joel Osteen doesn't believe. Like he could very well believe in the prosperity gospel stuff, but this character at one point. The narrator says he gave all of his faith to belong to something bigger without realizing that doesn't mean it's higher.
It's a great line.
Right.
It's
a good line.
I wrote that down actually.
Yeah, it's a good line, but that's the character. I mean, this is almost like this is like the Buddha encountering the sick man, the old man, and the dead man on the road, right? Like. AR encounters several preachers. He encounters his father. He encounters Joel Osteen. He'll encounter the roadside preacher who is outside the Waffle House. He'll encounter the peanut preacher, and he'll encounter the completely false preacher that is the Grinch / Johnny Collard Greens. So
the Truner.
Kino readings. I just realized I missed one that I had highlighted here.
Yeah, what?
This is way back, chapter 1. We blew past this Kino. The AR is being assigned to go see Boss. So he's sitting with his uncles. They're explaining why he should go there. Point is, he got his dick swinging a little bit, and he's saying he can bring you on out there as a consultant, all incognito.
Incognito is so good.
No, and what does AR say after that? Right? What does he say after that? He's like, "What?" He's like, "I don't give a fuck."
Consultant for what, boy? Like I give a fuck.
You made them black. Like the voice you're doing like Kingfish. Well, I say I surely do. Yeah.
Well, where do you think they got the accents from? Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
that's our culture, Southern. These are our people in a way. This is my ancestors you're talking about.
This is the song of your people, David.
I am incognito. It's my incognito life.
You are so incognito. Remember to maintain opposite. Well, any of us could be black. We could be actually incognito.
Like you, for example.
Yeah.
So he leaves, and he encounters for the first time the love of his right now, Marilyn Bell. So Marilyn Bell is a waitress at a Waffle House in the middle of nowhere, and also a student at Savannah College of Art and Design for some reason. And it's not really clear. I think that we say that so that we can tell that she's arty and educated, right? But also a down-home girl because she what?
Is she an active student? I remember them saying they modeled in an art class, but I wasn't sure if they were.
I'm
actually
from Tennessee by
still
Knoxville. I moved down here with my sister. We go to SCAD. Y'all paint?
Oh,
yeah, and
okay.
draw. I'm not as good as she is. I do write poems, though. Do you want to hear one?
Okay.
And her poem's quite good, actually.
Yeah. Well,
But
the
well, are you going to criticize it?
but yeah, like just so that you know that she's intelligent, but she's also a down-home girl because she's not above working at a Waffle House. And the first thing she says to him is, "Dang, I like this truck." So,
No, she likes the bench seat for some reason.
Yeah, because of
seats on trucks are so
her
romantic.
ex-boyfriend. Yeah, most romantic thing. She's like, oh, yeah, my ex-boyfriend in college, my high school sweetheart had a bench seat. Most romantic thing in the world, which is literally just saying like, yeah, I fucking trucks.
I
like,
fuck
just
in
a big
trucks.
titty shirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is his OC. Do not steal like waifu girl.
Yeah,
this is
with a
Goth
I thought it was a
with
vision.
a backup.
You true. It does come with a backup.
Look, I'll throw in 2 of these. You buy today.
Dude, it's hilarious. I thought this was a vision. I thought this was like the devil playing, like, the whole seduction, temptress, succubus, that kind of thing. Because it's just too perfect. It's too waifu material.
Yeah.
She's a Waffle House trad wife.
What do we think the can situation is?
The what?
The can situation.
Her breast size is never mentioned. It's
I know
insane amount.
it's not.
Tasteful. She's a tasteful C cup.
Yeah, I'll concur with that. Based on, she does wear a bikini black top at one point, but she does wear it with like cargo pants later on.
Yeah, she's
And,
wearing
so
she wears nothing but like tank tops. So,
So
they can't
she
be
is a-
bazoombas, right?
True.
I think they're big.
She is a woman of indeterminate breast size.
C is a
I
complete
would've
is like
noticed.
not over. It's not cumbersomely large. She's
All
not
those buttermilk
She's not a fucking.
pancakes.
She's not a milk truck.
It's
You
tasteful.
can't
but not
just
sexy.
assume you can't just assume every woman is a milk truck unless told otherwise.
Well, if I'm going to fan my manic pixie dream girl on the side of the fucking road, and we're going to share cigarettes, non-menthol cigarettes apparently, and then like she's going to take me to my favorite Twitter user at Waffle House, she might as well have giant milkers.
Yeah,
But in this scene, it's revealed that they're both 23. I did not.
No.
He did not come off as like. Yeah,
Marilyn's 21.
Well, yeah,
and he's 23.
oh, I'm sorry. Ooh, Cradle Snatcher, right? Base that. But anyway, but they don't come off as Zoomers at all. Like they come off as what I watch films with my mom, like Gen X or 90s films. They don't come off as modern Zoomers at all. Maybe it's just a Southern thing.
What's missing?
I-
What's the Zoomer element that you seek?
The brain rot.
The fact
Neither
that-
of them. She didn't say.
Yeah.
She didn't say. Dang, you got that skibbity riz.
Well, no, they come off as very adult. Like, the fact that she just kind of jumped. It's like very 70s movie. The fact she just jumps into a truck with this dude.
She's like, damn,
Right.
you could completely Rizzler me on God. That's like the.
Dude,
No,
because it's a serial killer on the loose. Women are extremely horny when there's serial killers out there. Like, oh my god, maybe he's the killer. Maybe he'll
That is
fuck me
true.
before he chokes me to death.
That is true. That is the George Bataille take on this. But the dialogue is great with them. They have so much. They have instant chemistry.
Women
Like
do long for
less
the
than
grave.
5 minutes.
That's so true.
Yeah, it's like a serial killer on the loose is like grasshoppers You have too many grasshoppers that turn to locusts. You know, you got a serial killer out there.
Yep.
Women are just gooning
got
out.
Okay, here's a good example of what I'm talking about. Could you imagine me and Atticus in the same room together and actually talking in a social situation?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. He doesn't come off as a Zoomer.
Yeah.
He doesn't have Zoomer.
No, he also comes off as like a down home Chad who's going to go get revenge for his cousin, and you come off like Weinstein the bird watcher.
I'm
not a bird watching redditor. I'm not a bird watching redditor.
I'm a bird watching Twitter user.
AR has a few different aspects of him that I don't think gel perfectly to him as a person either. Because, for example, we don't have to. It's a pretty brief scene. Basically, there's the baseball scene, and in that scene,
I love the baseball scene.
There's melancholy about his love of Americana and baseball. It's like, bro, you grew up like on this, like in the holler on a farm. Like, were you like, where's all this baseball shit you're into? And then later, he's talking to, I think it's the Jewish guy again, and he talks about like corporate taxes or somebody else, and he's like, oh, what would you do? Tax the rich? Hang the rich? Oh, it was the drug dealer, I think.
Yeah.
Like, then he's like a Republicard big business guy or something now. It's like, wait, aren't you like a weird cultist?
No,
like,
he was just
he
wasn't, he didn't have a conversation. It's that the Grinch had like this.
Yeah, it was like hang all the rich.
Yeah,
he
had this long screed that is supposed to be interpreted as stupid, right? And it was stupid, but basically he didn't argue with him. Atticus didn't argue with him. He just got annoyed and wanted to leave. Mm-hmm. Right. But yeah, I don't think he's particularly like, no, the rich are the backbone of society. He doesn't like.
I don't mean to imply that. It's more just not the take I would expect from someone with his background, and I feel like it's part of my beef where everything we've done so far, actually, AR has been like getting developed and getting more clear. And first meeting with Marilyn's pretty good with that too, where he's kind of like a Bubba Dope, and she's like dragging him around, has him wrapped around her finger. I'm just saying, like, from here on, I don't know. He doesn't. AR fades more as a character. Yeah, and this is
because he speeds up the plot. He's starting to speed up the plot a little bit, so he has to kind of fast forward his character development.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and and ultimately, when Marilyn dies, he experiences ego death. So
yeah, literally, he goes on his vision quest like his dad, which is pretty well. Let's get to the Waffle House, and then we can get to the baseball scene. There's a great.
I think that the baseball scene, other than the reference to A League of Our Own, which is a little funny, overall, I think the baseball Americana stuff is like that is a place of like where he is 100% confident and he understands the world. And like things are understandable and approachable for him, but after Marilyn dies, after Marilyn is murdered, they remove there's a single line that says that they close the ball fields.
Yeah,
and that's a signal that like. The West has fallen, basically, like, and AR experiences total free fall. He's completely unmoored at that point.
Well, if we're on the baseball field, Cap, would you? This is probably my favorite prose. Would you? I just posted a pod planning. Like I think you should recite that block. It's probably the best part of his metaphysics and character, and actually gel. It's not beating against each other like sometimes it does. It actually molds beautifully into each other organically.
Summer was proof that God loves baseball. More than anything else on earth, baseball mirrored the ebbs and flows of life, the poetry of it all. It hung there, far above spectacle, ritual, and repetition embedded in every movement and lull, the pacing allowing for the presence of time. New life was found in each pitch, dynamism given to every exertion, A break in the face of formality revealed the absolute in the passionate, violent experience of being. Proof that energy could never die, only be contained and directed. Mastery ultimately defined through control, and the narrative of lives told between decision and consequence.
It's great. It's great because he brings up his favorite line, baseball blue sky. He uses it in previous
baseball
writing.
sky. It's 2 words.
Yeah.
It's a 2-word. Yeah, yes. Not baseball blue sky.
Oh, sorry. Baseball sky. I apologize.
Yeah, baseball sky. It's something that PCM used in a different. In Double Dealer 9 actually, I think, and there's a really good, like, in terms of just two words to put together to be supremely evocative. There's little that you could get that is more bang for your buck.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, so he knows how to shrink and make the punch more impactful. And this little block is great because we just came from a theological argument with the Joel Osteen character. When Joel Osteen's very strict doctrinarian, is like, your father is a heretic. Why is he a heretic? Because he believes that the divine is in the living. See, God is the life. It's just what's between the end and the beginning. God is the Alpha and Omega, right? And it's the in between. The in between doesn't matter. The in between, people have to be led by children to go back towards God, right? That's why he doesn't care about his niece dying. He doesn't really care. Like, oh, I guess she's with God.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually almost an Arianist. Like, he's almost like subscribes to the Arian heresy, in that he apparently thinks that the world is some kind of punishment.
Mm-hmm. Or Gnostic, right? Or Cathars, right? Well, his father is both kind of a vitalist and a Buddhist, because his father believes in something called like man-made loops on an eternal timeline. God makes the timeline, but like a branch or like a kudzu, we are vines that organically twirl and spiral onto the man-made timeline. Again, the past precedes the future and through the present, and it curls back onto itself. So in reality, to put death before life is blasphemy. It's decay. It is life is exuberance. Life is prayer to him. To live in life, mortality is something good. It is something rich. It's something creative. He quotes a line from William Blake. You know, man is only with those that are with creatures and men that are alive. It is only in the living and creating it, because, you know, William Blake was kind of a religious libertine. You know what I mean? Basically a religious libertine. He loved Eros. He loved Dionysian. He made that virtuous. You know, he says, you know, the road of the straight man, it's not the straight man. The straight roads are made by, you know, fools, while, you know, the crooked roads are walked by geniuses. That kind of thing.
Right.
And you notice, what's the main feature of baseball? It's energy contained within these beautiful man-made straight lines. It's creation itself. Because he talks about curves earlier in the novel. He talks about, you know, it makes sense that, you know, to live around mountains, you always have to live on curves. All roads near mountains are curves. Because God makes the curves, while men know how to make straight lines.
Yep.
He basically says the profundity of straight lines. All right, God goes upward while men have to go side to side. And so this is what baseball is. So you see this beautiful moment where he's not talking about baseball. This is actually reflective of his father's teachings. He doesn't have to do the little red quote bullshit he does every time he references, you know, because every time a book of heaven and hell is referenced, the font turns red.
Every time he quotes William Blake, the font is red. Mm-hmm. It's like,
and this he doesn't. Red. But it might as well be a quote, right? This is basically, it's taking his father's philosophy, and he's applying it to baseball. This vital living in the movement, his exuberance of being, is a proof of his father's philosophy. This is, and you notice he doesn't talk. He talks about it's not defined through control and narrative. It's through decision and consequences. The whole point is that it's dynamic. It's not rigid, right? This section is debunking what the preacher man said to him earlier. I just think it's kind of a very beautiful thing. It's totally in character, but it's not on the nose, which is refreshing considering a lot of the metaphysics is on the nose.
Yeah.
So I thought it's quite beautiful.
I want to clarify too, because I poo-pooed on this chapter a bit ago, but that is at a was that a like characterization? Like I feel like it didn't fit my vision of AR. The writing and stuff, I would agree with what you were just saying in terms of it reading well and it being nice. I prefer this format versus the Joel Osteen format of it. One other comment, because I was just looking at the quote you popped in there, Gabe. Further, I have to say it. He says people travel further and things were further apart. When I think it should be farther. Just just a little
actually, grammar moment.
Actually,
buddy, there.
Yeah. Also, technically, I was technically incorrect. Arianism was the wrong. I was thinking of a different heresy. Sorry, not Arianism.
Yeah. Cathars or Gnostics. Arianism, I believe, is they thought Jesus was just some dude and not the Son of God.
But Jesus was a automaton. Yeah.
It was a golem. Oh no, Theo, we love you. Miles, what did you think of the baseball scene? Because it's very comfy. It's very breezy. He's meeting his Waffle House waifu.
I found it to be inappropriate for what I felt the book was already like kind of aiming towards. I'd never liked throughout the entirety of the book this hybridization of this really religious prose with these really weird like realism moments. It kind of gave me more I guess of a dislike, because it just played into much more of the tonal inconsistency that I really disliked throughout the whole book.
So you kept getting whiplash from these different changes.
It was just such a demand to try to catch. Okay, well, we're in this really religious moment, and all of a sudden, let's go to Waffle House. The dialogue was also one of the worst offenders of this, because you'd have these, especially like the guy who's in the mega church, and he'd have like 5 or 6 pages of him just like reading out this amazing, incredible religious text, and all of a sudden AR's like, what the fuck does this have to do with your niece getting murdered? And I'm like, what am I reading? I did not like a lot of the realism. I think he tried too hard to blend this. It's like he couldn't choose which one he wanted to go for, whether he wanted to be wholly religious and pretty, or he wanted to like be this sort of pseudo detective.
I like the contrast.
Realism,
I thought the contrast was actually quite
kind
strong.
of idea.
For me, it's the opposite of like, let's say, when we think about God as a killer.
I think it added nothing.
Religion was just barely
just
there.
for the book.
It was pure realism. Well, here I think, the metaphysics does overpower the realism, and here's the opposite problem to a certain degree. But when it hits like this, or the Waffle House, when the girl lightens up the novel. She really does lighten up his life.
Yeah.
And when he's with his father, it really, really clicks. And that's why this is probably one of my, if not the favorite scene in here, because it makes Atticus seem normal. Because he does love baseball, and he loves the summer breeze and the hot summer nights. He's in full Lana Del Rey mode here. Mm-hmm. But he also brings in his father's William Blakeism.
I think this goes back to our overarching plot issues, because this we caught the whiplash. And Miles, you're saying about picking a lane. Is it going to be more spiritual, religious focused, or more of a detective, noirish kind of vibe? I think a lot of this comes down to content and how dense it is, because there's so much in that noirish, whatever you want to call it, plot. So I'll list off minor spoilers. Who gives a shit? There's like obviously the daughter, Osby or whatever, the girl that died that initiated the plot. Yep. Then we have the dead kids. Then we have the Jewish guy's hand situation. We have the murder of the girlfriend. We have the murder of the other girl. And I think there's like 2 or 3 I'm missing. There's a ton of shit going on. There's so much action. And I think it's like, if that had been trimmed down to just like we're resolving one murder with maybe one in the middle, I think that would have given room to breathe for it to be more like, this is a religious, meditation on some of these ideas, and and then we can meet the characters of that in between, or vice versa, cut a ton of the religious ramblings and such, and then just focus on this like pulpy, all right, what's just the facts, man, point. But like having both in this short word count, I think that's where the whiplash piles up.
Yeah, I think when you mentioned the word meditation, that's kind of the word I've been searching for this whole recording. Is it feels insanely overwhelming to try to shoehorn this much like religious theology into a novella that's also trying to be like a story with a plot. It if he really wanted to make this like that expansive, he needed double, maybe triple the page count. Because at least then it's more digestible instead of like just constantly having to suck in 5, 6, 7 pages of just, again, religious theology that's just barreling right past you on the page. It is a lot to envelop. And you could say, oh, it's skill issue, or just get reading comprehension, or go back to 5th grade, or whatever the hell it is you think you want to say. But the reality is, it is a lot, unless you're someone who's really, really interested in these religious ideas. And for the lay reader, or maybe he just, he wrote this for a specific audience. As a lay reader like me who doesn't really care that much about the religious theology aspect, it just made the book really uncomfortable. And I was kind of hoping he would get to, oh, okay, cool. He sees like the pig. Oh, cool. He's gonna find out like who did it. Maybe it's gonna be someone he knows. That's what I was searching for the whole time. Like, what's the actual mystery behind the plot?
Yeah, as far as the like the noir section, and Miles, I know you're a big Raymond Chandler stan.
Yeah, big time.
Right. You have that setup, right? You have that noir-esque setup. And like this could have had that fully realized, but I do agree that the ending is
true,
abrupt, and is kind of nonsense.
Are we on the ending discussion now? Because
no. The noir is like all vibes, and then an ending that really lands.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or do you disagree?
I'm gonna nit.
You can't have noir without an ending that
that kind of.
It's not good if the ending.
I am gonna nitpick.
There are some kinds of novel where the ending is not the most important.
I am gonna nitpick slightly. Noir is a cinematography sort of thing. I would call it hard-boiled or detective fiction, but it's splitting hairs, is pill pulling. Noir, everybody
sure,
knows noir.
That is what I'm talking about.
Everyone knows what noir means. But Chandler, in my opinion, is the best hard-boiled detective fiction writer. I don't think anybody would disagree. Maybe someone would say Dashiell Hammett. They'd be wrong. Please reread The Maltese Falcon. It's not as good as you remember. But Raymond Chandler was exceptional at building these ideas in this atmosphere. He was really great atmosphere writer. Some of his best writing, in my opinion, comes from The Lady in the Lake. Because within 2 chapters, you go from this big plush office to this really beachy vibe on like the top of these California cliffs, and then all of a sudden you're going up through the mountains. Like, he's an incredible atmosphere writer, and that's something really important to do, especially when you're writing mystery fiction. And I hated this. I know we're not on the ending yet, but the way that they revealed who the murderer was at the end, I felt very very upset. Because it's very antithetical to mystery fiction. Maybe he was going for more of a thriller, more of a religious book idea. But again, that just goes back to what I was saying, right? It's like he's trying to toe the line between a very religious experience kind of book, but also a book with a little bit of plot. And he either needed more words or he needed to pick a fucking lane, and he didn't have either.
Well, and it also does, yeah. I mean, and we'll talk about it more when we get there. But I agree that the hard-boiled, the detective fiction, the mystery side of this does not, like, there is no payoff.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no payoff.
Not at all.
He just like he predicted an ambush and countered it because he had a gun.
Yeah,
he didn't figure anything.
Oh God, there's a lot I need to talk about with that when we get there.
I would like
anyway.
to. This is my last thing. We'll continue on immediately. I would just like to counter just slightly here. One sentence. I mean, my answer to that is he's not going for Raymond Chandler, who himself liked to pace out. A lot of his novels were not just about the hunt or just about the plot. My God, he said multiple times sometimes they'll just randomly kill a character just to move the plot along. I would say this is more Twin Peaks, no one cares who the fuck killed Laura Palmer. It's not about who killed Laura Palmer. It's about the characters. It's about the mood. It's about Twin Peaks
I
itself.
disagree. I think people did care, and that there was a really cool payoff for who did it in the end.
Well, remember, initially it was because it was never supposed to be revealed, actually, in the original series.
I will state this, and Gabe knows this very well. I despised Twin Peaks. That's not.
Fuck! I forgot that. I forgot. I talked about this.
I did not like Twin Peaks, and that's probably if this was in the same vein. I think I kind of agree. That's probably also why I really did not like it.
And that's why I really love it.
I've never seen
Overrated,
Twin Peaks.
honestly. I liked it.
Fuck you.
Genuinely,
It insists upon itself.
Genuinely, I did not care for Twin Peaks.
Yeah, it's interesting, but not.
This explains so much, and I actually will agree with Miles on one part, is that you need more words. It's very breezy. The pacing is very breezy for a novel that's only 170. That's why
I don't know if I agree with that.
pacing
at all.
is not.
It's very winded. It's breath exhausting. It's exhausting.
No, when he pauses for character moments, him shooting with Bobby, him drinking with Bobby.
That's the whiplash. Like, it flies through those, and then you hit a wall of, here's my dissertation on Arianism / Catharism. You know, it's like, oh my god, and then that's over, and then it's like, oh, and then I'm having sex with this Goth GF. And it's good. I think, to quote Brandon Sanderson again, Sora 2 on promises, like promises to your reader is like one of those key things, and I think the start of this book, it does promise you more in the build up to, like, pretty much the whole first third is like, besides the priest, it is generally promising you more of a murder mystery than it ends up being. It ends up being a lot more of the priest talking.
Especially when they're talking with like bosses, like, oh, we're gonna get some down home justice around here. I'm like, okay, cool, it's a murder mystery, and then I get 5 pages of a dude draped in gold, like yelling about, I don't know, fucking God in heaven or something.
Mm-hmm.
No, I forgot Miles is a Reddit atheist, so I apologize.
It's true. I actually have a neck beard. I have not shaved in 6 hours.
All right, get off, Miles.
Imagine this.
Yeah. All right, we gotta
consider the aroma.
Let's get to the Waffle House. It's midnight time. Get to the Waffle House.
Right,
We gotta get to the late night Waffle House.
All right, the baseball scene's done, and Gabe, feel free to chime in too. I know you have a lot to say on this one, but the second part, the middle. So he's got his hot goth GF. They have their first. Is it their first date where they go to meet?
She calls him the day after. Like, she immediately.
Like, hey, you want to get some drugs? And they go to, what is the guy's name again? Always for space on the name.
That you are not correct.
It's not the
Yeah,
first
they don't
date.
do drugs. What do you mean?
No. They hung out and talked a lot.
Oh yeah, at the park, right?
Like, they sat on a park bench.
And they do. No, her
and
mom
then-
was a junkie, or no, she was like false flagged as a junkie.
Her mom got dusted by drug.
Insanely based, by the way. It's the greatest way to deal with snitches.
Okay, so her stepdad was a drug dealer. He got busted. There was a rumor that her mom was a snitch. She was not, but there was a rumor that she was. And so the dealers ended up stripping her naked, hitting her with a hose, and then throwing crystallized LSD on her, and she got institutionalized. So she went fully insane from that experience.
What you doing, stepdad?
Oh my god, Gabe.
Oh my god.
Well, I don't know.
But after their little meeting, they do have the street preacher outside of the Waffle House encounter.
Yes,
He's
you
lucky
get a
to ride
cameo
a
from
giant
Zante from
crucifix.
Twitter. He is literally Zante from Mythos America from Twitter. We got the cameo. We got the Marvel fanboys, the Cape Shitters got their Stan Lee slop. We get the Mythos America cameo.
You get Mytho America, yeah. I mean, I would love to read this whole thing if you feel like we have time. It's a
hit it.
page. All right. Let's see. Waffle House must be seen as the afterlife in the after hours. What may appear banal on its surface when explored becomes the source of truth. Supernatural character exudes from its shadowy depths. It is no accident that, though you've the option to attend a Waffle House during the day, its spirit is most articulate in the after hours. A quality paramount not only to the prosperity of its business model, but to its metaphysical significance. The night looks identical, whether by 9 p.m. or 4 a.m., and like the night, while every duplication of the franchise feels the same, each is marked by an unfamiliarity and a novelty. The cyclical mundanity of routine becomes enhanced by its juxtaposition to the nocturnal mystery of darkness. There is always a feeling of something more going on than meets the eye, something intimate. An intimacy comprised of those with the will to extend beyond the natural rhythms of those who prevail against the little death called sleep. Those who, knowingly or not, embody the Christian tenacity for an afterlife are the same who occupy the Waffle House each night. The glow of its sign is a symbol of salvation, a yellow ember of life amidst the sunless dark, erect like a crucifix along the American highway. The energy at the restaurant at this time teems like crickets on a southern summer night. You are reminded just how alive things are out there in the stillness, a rebel yell that so many have learned to tune out. Ma'am, sir, can you recognize the mythical still exists? Life is fiery with its beauty, its incredible detail. Even in such a time and place as this, there is mythos in America.
You said it. He said the line.
He
Sir,
said
this is
the
a Waffle
line.
House. Get out of here.
Sir, this is a Waffle House. I really like that little soliloquy.
It's a great line.
Well, and from then on, at several points, AR looks for him and doesn't see him, except maybe in the distance. So this is another like lingering figure of this is another thing tying him to like the salvific quality of Americana. And like this guy is inaccessible to him afterwards.
Oh, and also this is when his girl was still alive.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Everything goes away after
The America kind of dies, exactly. And it's a great, honestly, even if you remove the cameo aside, you can roll your eyes on you said the line Mythos America, but I actually do 100% agree that is a banger description. And it's a genuine, because Waffle House it's become internet like lore, it's become internet kind of mythos, or like it like the Waffle House is. It's my first time I ever went to Waffle House was very recently actually, and you do feel a sense of mystique when you go there. It's a place about roots, but it feels connected to you no matter where you go to it. You know what I mean? I 100% agree with its evocation. It's like a reverse of liminal space.
I think Waffle House should be its own nation with borders that begin and end at the door.
Yeah, exactly. It's the opposite of a liminal space. It's an in-liminal space. It's a great. It oddly enough feels cozy. You feel somewhat at home when you walk into a Waffle.
All right. Apparently, I don't remember their romance at all. So I don't know.
You didn't like the romance?
No. I'm saying I do not remember. I don't remember the sequence of events in the middle very well, honestly. So they had their first date, and then they go to Waffle House, and then he meets the bird watcher while she's still alive. He gets the call he reaches out to him, and he says, the bird watcher reaches out to AR and says, hey,
don't involve
I have like a little secret confession I want to make just to you. He says, okay, I'll meet you at, where should we meet? Let's meet at a random park somewhere. All right, let's do it. They go.
And that's totally, and to be clear, that's totally a hard-boiled detective thing. Yeah. Like, gets a call from the lead that the cops have already interviewed, and he's like, well, I got this other
but only for your ears. Right? Nobody else can know about this. They meet at this park.
That's a death flag on the character, by the way.
Yeah, it's like a laser on their head. And they start talking, and they have a conversation where he's like, okay, so, well... Gabe, I need your Reddit voice.
Well, actually, Mr. Copper, I actually may have taken a picture of the underage girl for my internet forum friends.
Yeah,
that's what.
It's for my nut buddies.
It's artistic. It's just artistic, bro.
But he says
it's tasteful nudity.
His roommate. he had previously referred to the woman he was with, quote unquote woman, as a roommate who was in the car when he gave his confession. But he's like, well, actually, she's kind of my girlfriend, but also she's kind of a Satanist and a lawyer, defense attorney, and yeah, you know, she has been on social media, and she had been advertising the thing to get him there, the bird's information, and like she was involved, and basically there's signs that his girlfriend might be involved in some kind of criminal underground group, and AR says, oh, so you think she might be like the murderer? And he's like, yeah, you know, I think it's possible. Then AR has a very odd line, actually, that always stuck out to me, where he says, oh, it feels like you're just talking in circles and like wasting my time, which is weird because it's like, this is the most forthright anyone in this book has been, and like the most clues, like, oh my God, we have like a real suspect.
Right. It's incredibly consequential.
Like this woman is probably responsible or knows who's responsible. And then a Scooby-Doo black force descends on them, and AR is knocked out. And he has a vision of some kind. I don't remember. And then he wakes up, and Jew boy is missing a hand, had his hand chopped off.
Both of his hands. Yeah, both of his. He's dead, and his hands are
never
chopped
to be. Peep, whisper another peep about another tweet about what he has or has not seen, and he's woken up. AR is woken up by a deputy. And the deputy says, all right, you know, your boss sent me. And he's like, oh, okay. What? Doesn't he get a boss calls him? Like, it's kind of an unusual thing where the deputy wakes him, then I think he talks to boss on the phone and says like, oh, this just happened. You know, this is messing me up in the head.
A deputy was watching him, basically, and like saw a dark figure
somehow descend, knock one grown man out, knock the other out, and chop his hands off.
And chop his hands off.
What was this guy doing?
One
he was
fell
with
swoop.
his dick out, taking a piss, which comes up again later.
Like, whoa. He's just like squinting, like, boy, I really need glasses. You sent the wrong guy on this stakeout.
Good old boys. Was he supposed to meet Marilyn? I know Marilyn dies after this, but like, what is the connection between this and the Marilyn killing?
No, he finds out because they do have sex. They have sex at least once, and then her twin sister gives. So he leaves off for work. She leaves for something. Her twin sister gives him a cup of coffee, and with the cup of coffee is a napkin, and with the napkin is her unfinished poem.
No, you're skipping the whole. You're skipping the whole
night
thing.
they stay at and they fuck in the car, right? At the in a park. It's a different park. They go to a different park.
Oh, I forgot the second part thing. Yeah,
he's like, you are out in the sticks here, man. Like you were. I
remember that. I like that scene. All right, damn it, go ahead.
The romance.
After that, AR calls has one of his prayers to Daddy, and he's recovering. He has a fucking concussion. Like, and he's acting like he has a fucking concussion. He's really shaken up about having gotten this lead and having Mr. Weinstein die in front of him.
Well, actually, technically, he didn't die in front of him yet because he got knocked unconscious first, if I recall correctly. No.
Yeah, he didn't see it happen, I don't think.
Yeah, so it didn't die in front of him.
Right. Yeah, but he woke up with a dead guy in front of him.
True, but that's
why he didn't get knifed. Who knows? But yeah, we wouldn't have a book. So
that's true. Actually, that's a plot hole.
Oh yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I just want to be with somebody, babe. Can I hang?
Babe, I just need to be with someone." And she's like, "Okay,
yes, okay, it's coming back to me now in a rush."
And she's like, "Okay, yeah."
She thinks he's high already because he's acting so fucked up. She's like, "Do I need to watch you? Like, did you take some?"
She's like, "Are you having a bad trip right now? Because you're acting really out of it." And he's like, "No, babe, I just have a head wound. I have a traumatic brain injury." And she mentions at one point taking Giorgio Wiley, which is psilocybin, a specific kind that only grows in northern Georgia, for the real ones. and then they go meet the worst. They go meet the worst guy to hang out with when you have a brain injury, Rob from California, who moved to rural Alabama, and is called the Grinch because he hates Christmas. Because he has an extreme case of red-green color blindness.
With humor, he is great. I love his humor in the book. I wish it was actually a little bit more humorous, to be honest.
Yeah, it's good characterization. Actually, I liked him as the drug dealer.
Yeah, so he's a shit lib. Like he's like, you know, I don't know, rich people are parasites, but he like completely brain fried some trust fund kid with methamphetamines, right? So he's just like, oh, I'm just gonna like give this guy meth until he burns out. I'm fully aware of what's happening to him, but he bought the meth, so the meth's his, so he can just.
He makes a comment like, well, you know, you burn that bright, you gotta either burn up or burn down. You got big things in store for him, so he has to go down hard. Right. And they just yammers at him and I think that's sort of the second one, because the preacher, you know, is also sort of like, oh my God, will this guy shut up? And this is the second one. I don't think he'd ever said anything impolite, but AR is just let's get the fuck out. He's uncomfortable, and she's like, all right, let's roll. And they smoke a blunt for like a minute, and then they get out, and then they go to he drives her off. You know, she said she was a truck fucker. It's time to prove it, sweetie. And I guess it is a sweet scene. You know, they talk, they bond, they do drugs, they suck tongues. I like that line, actually. I like that that's included. Nice little bit of
anything involving her is just great. Like he goes into, like I said, Lana Del Rey. 100%. I mean, there's so many lines from when he's describing the summertime with her. It's as with all summer romances, you know, the red wine romance of a summer evening. You know, it just flows. It's pop. Any one of these lines when he's describing her could be from something from Born to Die. It's literally his great song titles throughout. Like he just kind of relaxes and he's like, I just need to talk about being with a really funny, cute, pretty girl, and use my suitory description to do it, and it just beautiful. I love everything involving him and the girl. The girl's great. Complete. Is it a chud version of a Manny Pixie Dream Girl? Yes. Do I care? Absolutely not. You know, every story needs one. Everyone needs a based waifu, a Pixie Dream Girl. I loved the scenes with her. Mm-hmm. And the whole point is to fridge her at the end, obviously. The whole point is so you could kill her later on.
Yeah.
They fuck, they wake up, a kindly park ranger is like, morning, youngins, time to get up. Nope, I didn't look at your pussy, young lady. Like, don't worry.
No, he says, I'm just
glad
gentleman. Y'all Zoomers or y'all young ones still do that kind of thing.
I didn't know kids still fucked in cars. Glad to see the kids are all right.
The tradition lives on. You know, I conceived my second child in this exact same car parking spot.
Probably. Then, does she die right after, or am I getting ahead of things?
So he goes and drops her off at work. She's like, I've got a thing in this afternoon, but let's hang out later. And then her sister comes out.
It says, you're sweet on my sister. This is the first time we've had a conversation, I suppose. And then, little does she know, she has met her future husband. And then, what is it? He's driving away, and then he like realize what is it that he hears or sees that makes him go back?
Let's see, who does he talk to?
I think it's the nut guy, right?
Oh, so he talks to. He drives away, goes to the RV park. He talks to Boss. Boss is like, yeah, we got this letter for you.
Oh, and it's backward stuff. That means twins.
I'll get it back to you. I'll get it back to you, later this afternoon. It'll be a while before I can get it to you. And then so he goes to the RV park that he's kind of staying at, because he doesn't fucking live here. He hasn't like slept indoors yet, right? He's like he got shit faced with Boss and like slept in a chair outside with him, and then he slept in the bed of his truck, and like now he's at this RV park where he had parked his car, to go and like take a cold shower in the hose because he's effectively homeless until he solves this murder. And then eventually, boss calls him back, and he's like, "Hey, here's this cryptic message we found." And then he's like, "Oh shit, they're gonna kill my girlfriend."
Did you guys solve the puzzle before he did? Because I did not. I was like, "What the fuck is that?" I did not get twins from that, because I remember it's just like the same word front to back, right? Several times.
Yeah. The hint is that it's a mirror image. Yeah.
I put so much busy work into copy and pasting all lines from like every time I literally copy every time I see a red font, because it's all from Heaven and Hell, and I read a bunch of chunk because I'm not a Blake cell, so I had to like try to decipher and crunch. So that's all my research was, trying to like getting filtered by Blake.
This didn't have anything to do with
no.
So.
I know that. What I'm saying is I use my brain
okay.
cells for that.
Yeah, you can't spare your mind. I get it.
Yeah, well, he solves it in
immediately.
A page,
yeah,
or he solves it in half a page. So, and then he immediately goes to find Marilyn, and she's fucking dead already because
the finding
they didn't have a scanner.
They
didn't have a scanner at boss's office, so
like
Marilyn
he finds
dies.
her. She's in a park, and she's in like a nice outfit too. Probably gonna go meet some Chad, and then and she's just like stabbed multiple times. Doesn't she have her eyes gouged out too? And is filled with.
She has her eyes gouged out and filled with black.
Black wax. Candle. It's brutal.
And she got the Joker treatment. She's like, "Want to know how I got these scars?" And then
and
she's already dead.
The ending monologue is great. He pressed his face into the ground and raised his voice to a height where words cannot sustain. And in the near distance and speeding closer, sirens wailed in a chorus. And because he describes how beautiful she is. She looks like an angel. In the distance, she looks like an angel and looks welcoming. He doesn't even feel terror yet, right? But from a distance to her sheer beauty. It's only until he feels the horror and actually seeing her, seeing the brutality of it all. So that's when we actually see her death. And do you think it's too obvious that she was like, hey, like, this is the problem when you have a story like this where you have like actual metaphysics. Like this is me coming to Miles' point just from the other end, from the Sood point instead of the pulp cell point. Do you think that her dying is a little too cliche?
I think there's a lot of unnecessary deaths. I think it was too obvious. Like, what's the point of giving the character like the twin and then taking it away again? Is it just like torture porn? Is it to shoehorn more Blake in? Again, I think of this book from a plot and character perspective. He obviously wrote this book from with a very different design in mind, and the choices that he made, especially in terms of killing the characters, and oh god, the whole chapter with them trying to chase down Marilyn and them all freaking out was a slog.
The murderers don't have a clear like scheme, right? So it's like, why would they target her? Why would they target anyone? So it goes back to what I mean, I guess when we get to the true ending, that's where I can really unload, because I think it becomes very apparent once you read the ending. There's a lot of things where he was 100% not thinking about the realism aspect of this story. Because you think about it for 2 seconds and you're like, that's interesting. Why didn't he catch this? And it just invalidates a lot of this. It makes for me a lot of the realism that he tried very obviously like hokey. I guess I've used that word a lot, but I think it was unnecessary to kill the twin. I think the only point for it was just to pile on more religious stuff in the prose. I don't think it served any other point and no other purpose. Certainly not for the plot. I think I agree that it's. I don't know. She's kind of like an emotional heart to the story as it's structured now. But I guess the question would be like maybe to the earlier point, and this is getting dangerously close to me, like suggesting what to do. But yeah, but like it would be like, why isn't her death like the story, right? Like why didn't it maybe happen earlier? We have flashbacks or something like that. That'd be a more traditional story. It's not necessarily what he's trying to do, though. which I respect that he's trying to do something different. So I really don't want to be
Common Miles
prescriptive.
W. Wow.
But I think you're onto something, Miles.
Oh, I know for sure I am. I know for sure I am, but I won't beat my own drum here. I think when we get to the ending and I point out a couple of details that really rubbed me the wrong way.
She didn't die.
She's got
a little bit more to say about this, but no, I don't think the second sister's death was.
But he doesn't take her home with him. You know, he leaves her. He's like, fuck you and leave you, which is.
Okay, so she okay. I misremembered. Then that's my bad. She serves as this mirror image for the sister that's already lost, which is a fairly good trope and can be done really well. Which I'm doing.
Let's power through. We're close to that part, and then you can
detective novel
for a while. So Marilyn,
but I think
pepperoni.
So he moves. Yeah,
I think I've said enough.
Marilyn dies. He moves in with the drug dealer. The next time we see him, he is like cradling a shotgun in the shower, which is
like it's huge flash forward.
A bad place to be. Yeah, it's been a month,
and he's been just doing drugs. But he's basically become the rich kid that was just tripping balls in the front yard. Now he's him, but he's living upstairs, high all the time, angry. And then Lizzie, one night.
Although to be clear, it doesn't say he's taking meth. It says that he's been taking too much Xanax. And just to be clear, that's an on-label use. Right? That's an on-label use. Now obviously he didn't go and get a prescription, but he could probably get a prescription for Xanax given that his lady friend just, got murdered and he discovered the body.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's an on-label use.
For Xanny berries.
So
why not? Lizzie sort of almost like mystically appears in the room, and she's looking to fuck. No explanation needed, just DTF.
Also, they mention how gross and like stringy his hair is, and how filthy he is, and his surroundings are just sort of decaying.
She's trying to wash him too, right? That's kind of how he gets out.
And before she fucks him, she takes him to the shower, but they don't do anything sexual in the shower. She just washes his hair because he's too fucking gross.
Yeah. It's the mommy. You can see the point of a mommy GF is not the sexualized aspect of the mommy GF. The point of the mommy GF also is the maternal aspect of the mommy GF. It's like being a baby bird, and your mother is like getting the little pieces of like worm meat out of your feathers. It's the grooming part. You're being cherished. You're being comforted. You are a valuable piece of existence upon this earth. Like that. That's the point of the mommy GF.
She's cleansing him.
Exactly. So that's the other aspect of launch.
As in, like, they literally say she scrubbed him vigorously as if ritual.
Baptism,
washing of the feet. God was all about that for a while. Then moving on to the exorcism, which was one of those scenes where I was like, how did we get here? Because I'm pretty sure just the drug dealer just says, hey, you want to go check out, there's an exorcism where all the religious leaders of the city are gathering to exorcise a demon.
No, the next one is the next scene is Peanut Preacher.
Oh, I thought that already happened. Okay, so what is the Peanut Preacher? I remember he's a heretic. What's his heresy?
So we've previously seen a honk if you like my nuts sign for a stand that sells boiled peanuts on the side of the road. And so he ends up actually stopping, and he meets Dog. And Dog sells boiled peanuts, and he has a variety of flavors you can choose from, including lemon, pepper, and Cajun. And he used to be a preacher. He writes like Bible verses on the cups when he sells you something. And so they get started to talking, and he essentially is espousing what AR's dad was talking about, that the world works in these epicycles, and that meaning is found in the creation and stewardship of a new world. This has always been our task, modeling the creation and death of the universe. See, modern man's first divine act, or miracles as it were, was detonating the bomb. The second was entering space. The third, the creation of a new form of life. Micro, macro, contraction, expansion, creation. Tell me that ain't godlike. And he ends up being a pseudo-Landian where man will be the creator of digital life. And the new Trinity is God, the physical, and the digital.
Oh yeah,
or man, the physical, and the digital.
Yeah. Atlantean Catholicism. Let's go.
Well, definitely not
Well,
Catholicism.
The Holy Trinity.
Yeah, all Christians are Trinitarians.
Yeah, we won't go to the rightful papacy take on that, but we'll continue on.
I'll just say this reminded me of the Deus Ex bartender conversation.
Oh yeah,
It's just like, whoa, okay, this guy's peanut seller's got a lot to say. I'm down.
the random Chinese lady in the Chinese restaurant in Paris actually red pilled me on The Great Replacement. What?
What? In the fresh. Anyway, peanut seller talks, never to be seen again, and then the Exorcist. That is one of those like.
Well, it's returning to God is just returning to the Garden of Eden without shame. And at one point they do literally say that, or his father does literally say that self-reflection is literally the devil.
Based.
Because of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So yeah, it's like returning to God is just returning to the Garden of Eden without shame. You think? Yep, something like that. You want some of these lemon pepper too, or just the Cajun? Both. Hell yeah. Grab you a ginger ale to go with them. You want some crushed ice too? Son, that is the good shit. So like, and that is how, I mean, similar to the ending with the Joel Osteen guy. You have sort of the deadpan laugh line at the end, where AR is like getting back to basics, and
The next exercise,
and his interlocutor is finishes his sermon.
and the exorcism scene kind of builds on the peanut seller's point, where basically, the long story short, they get invited to, or he doesn't get invited. The drug dealer leads AR, tells him there's an exorcism. All the religious leaders of the city are gathered to exorcise this demon, because no particular one has having any luck doing it. He shows up. The doorman lets him in just randomly. I guess he says like, "Oh yeah, we're with the Mormons." Listen, and it ends with all the preachers are just doing their, everyone's just rambling in Christian, platitudes, and then old AR whips out the belt with an image of a mountain on it to build on the earlier idea.
The mountain that his father lives on.
The mountain his father lives on. The idea of the mountain the shape of God. He whips him with that.
The axis moon.
And he makes a statement declaring that like you have to have the faith enough to commit to the action, and the act of creation in order to actually get anything done. Unlike these wording is, he tells everyone else that they're not like truly believing because they're not willing to act on it. They're just kind of like following through the motions. Yeah, they're word cells.
Their dad doesn't know brandings. At least his dad knows how to do branding with the nice belt buckles.
Yeah. He just whips the shit out of the dude until he says sorry.
So he beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, and everyone else prior to that, they're like, "Oh, repent." They're doing the exorcism, the movie routine, and he's just telling them to fuck off. Then you give that boy a whooping, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
This is
I'm sorry.
No, this is the base world version of those Christian movies where the Christian's like, you know what, you atheist, Mr. Science atheist man, Mr. Richard Dawkins knockoff, guess what? Christ is real. You know why? You're gonna get hit by a car, and then you're gonna believe in God afterwards. It's the base world version of this. It's like, no, I'm base, and I will just beat the shit out of you to prove my sect is correct.
yeah, it was a interesting end to that arc. I was just confused. I thought he was supposed to be associated with the murders. I thought that was the implication, but then it turns out it was just a random possessed guy. I guess just this demonic spirits.
Yeah, and they dropped that the guy had said that he was the Great Devourer.
Yeah, which confused me.
Right? But no, it's just some other demon who's
hanging around.
Identity fraud is a big thing in hell. You don't know the amounts of Beelzebubs I've ran into.
Yeah. Maybe he's like the ringleader, and it's just an unstated thing. Maybe he's like tuning these gals out and getting them harassed up.
He's the one who's making like fat female power lifters. All such cases, to be clear.
Miles, do you want to take a crack at sort of guiding us through everything past the exorcism? So the going to the park with the sister, the dream,
your favorite parts,
and the manhunt.
Yeah, I'll be honest. My memory of the ending is fairly hazy. I know that he goes into the park with his sister. I believe she gets attacked. He sees like 3 shadows in the.
Wait! Before that, we have to say he's like, oh man, he sees 3 daggers. He has a vision of 3 daggers floating above her head. He's like, oh, that's terrible. He's like, let's go walk. Let's go walk in this dark forest.
Yeah, let's walk through the dark
forest where you're. Yeah, no, he knew. Yeah. Okay, so after the exorcism, Lizzie contacts him and is like, I would really like it if you would come with me to visit
the grave and the death spot.
Not the grave where she was found, which is not the place I would visit. I would visit the grave. But yeah, to visit the place she was murdered.
I would take. If you can't handle me at my worst, you can handle me at my best. I think both are okay places.
So Brad, if you gave.
Like no. If your father died in Normandy, if your father died in Normandy, but but he's buried back in America, or actually, I'm not gonna go to the Normandy beach reunion. He isn't buried there. Like, no, you're gonna visit the Normandy beach and then.
Yeah, but that's like fucking. Okay, that's so retarded.
Yeah, you're retarded.
You can't call me wrong.
I'm not even gonna bite that. I'm not even gonna bite into it. That's just retarded.
Call me retarded. You can't call me wrong.
That's dumb.
No, you're wrong and retarded.
Okay, so he goes with the sister into the park. They get attacked by 3 people who he discerns as devils or demons.
Shadows.
Shadows. Yeah, thank you. She gets stabbed. He's like, "Oh my God, please don't bleed out." He calls the police.
He shoots
and
one
like,
of them.
Okay,
because he brought a gun.
Okay.
Yeah, he brought a gun.
Yeah, see, Cap has the book open, which I'm very relieved for because I'm obviously missing a lot of details. So thank you. He charges after them and basically says, "Cool, sit here while I go and save the world." Chases them all into a cave. Where he fights.
Oh, you
3 of them.
You missed. Okay, so hold on. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. You know what? You do the plot recap. I'll complain about it later.
He calls boss and he's like, "Hey, this is where we're at.
They're in the North Woods. There's only one way out."
Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, the north side of that woods is all highway. I got my guys there." So he heads them off at the pass. So they box him in. And he's trying to keep Lizzie alive. Lizzie, he can't detect her pulse anymore. And then he has a fucking vision, another fucking vision. And the angel that revealed Osby's murder date to his father.
Oh Christ! Yeah, I skipped that entire italicized section. It
was when the build up to this. Literally, he has a vision. The demon angel appears and just holds out a piece of paper, and he's like, "Read this, bro."
Here, read this.
And literally, the ending is death and life go hand in hand. Like that's the crux.
But it has a story of like,
it does return to a few things, like it returns
Virgin
to
Boy,
the lines thing.
That.
Yeah, there's
and for life is not the greatest gift alone. Yeah. He finally kind of understands in his own mythology that the idea, the gift of afterlife. Because remember, when he initially does not like the afterlife due to his father's teachings when he discusses with the Joel Osteen insert. But here he kind of learns to accept the idea of afterlife as a form of birth, because the idea of birth is actually kind of woven into it. So I would say there's some good stuff in there. But of course, do I think it should be a lore dump? Should the angel literally give him like, hey, here's the lore.
Here's your
Here's the
homework.
lore.
Did you do the reading?
Yeah, that was off. Like, I just think, this is probably, I think the novel's too rushed. I do think it should have been a little bit longer. But this is another one of the examples of that. He should not be having this moment. He should be having this moment, but not at this literal moment during a literal situation like this.
Yeah, because it's like right in the middle of the action, and it's just like, all right, let's pause. Let's talk about the concept of faith, but as a personified. But anyway, enough on that. There's that vision. The manhunt is going on. Yeah. Meanwhile, or following that, Boss and his crew of the good old boys have arrived, like the fucking cavalry. They have a hound dog that already has the scent,
and they're like, "We have the best hound dog ever made. This dog can smell your fetishes."
It literally says like, "Hey, if anybody has a problem with extrajudicial killings, get the fuck out right now, because we're gonna chop these bitches up and feed them to hogs in a few pages." So get ready.
They call in the base department, basically.
Yeah. Everyone, and nobody leaves, and he's like, "I thought not."
No, you know what? It's time. These are Southern boys. They go into their basements. They see those points on those hoods, and they realize it's time.
Yeah,
it's
time to rise up.
So ultimately, AR ends up being the one to corner them first, to corner the bitches first. And the devil is a troon, is an obese
exact
troon.
Word is like, was it chemicalized female or something like that? And it's like, oh, I see what you're doing here.
No. The chemicalized females are the other one. This one has a withered member, unable to jism, and flaccid,
the jism line,
nutritionless tits or something like that. There's like a really unsexy troon. Not to beat that particular horse to death, but
this is one with the goat head on it, right?
Yeah. And there's like some twink who is the one that AR shot, who is like bleeding out, and so he's very feeble, and he's just got like a what do you call it? Like a pillow with 3 daggers sitting on it. So 3 daggers being a symbol that has been seen several times in this chapter and throughout the book. So they have a knife fight, and Troon loses, gets stabbed.
Oddly, AR puts the goat head on after he wins.
There's this one thing where like he takes the 2 extra daggers and he like puts them in the goat head so that it's got knives on top, and then he puts it on and then chases after the bleeding guy.
By that that move,
which it was not a big. I feel like it was supposed to be cool. I feel like it was supposed to be cooler. It did not seem very cool. Like, it seemed baffling.
It's a visual metaphor for the marriage between heaven and hell. He's a holy warrior, as his father said, but he has to do the individualization, has to synthesize both the heaven and the hell, a marriage between the two, if you will.
Heaven for the action.
Yeah, but he immediately takes it off. Like, it's just, it doesn't. There's no.
Well, it's a shotgun wedding in this case, but the symbols.
Yeah, it's one of those issues of like symbology messing with like plot, which I guess has kind of been a recurring part of this.
Yeah, and then so he chases him. That guy buys it, and then he meets
muscle tranny,
another
right?
one of them coming the opposite
Pig-faced
way.
muscle tranny.
Yeah, and then it's like three women who have been pinning Test. And so there's one, and then there's the other, the dreadlocks one and the mohawk one that we've seen previously, and then they demand medical attention.
And the cops are here now too. They're fully surrounded and have surrendered.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, fuck you, get an ambulance. I need medical attention. And they're like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna kick you in the mouth. You're gonna spit out your teeth. You're gonna gurgle in this creek for a little bit, and then we're gonna throw tow hitches over some tree branches and hang you with our 4x4s. And then feed your bodies to pigs. And then they do that.
It was such a based phone call to have with Boss.
Very
He was literally just like, yo, fed those bitches some hogs. You don't got nothing to worry about. It's like, dude, you could have just said they attacked you. Just shot them. You didn't have to kill them in such a ridiculous way. Which, I'm not complaining. It's an awesome way to end the book. Like that like portion of it.
Well, it's an awesome way to... It's not an awesome way to end the book. It's super. The extrajudicial killing here is peak. Very
Well,
I'm not speaking generally. I'm speaking of the killing itself. I'm not saying the final 4 chapters are perfect.
well, there might be a reason for this cap. I'm going to post this in the pod planning again. It's because actually being anti city slicker is actually entirely based and correct and should have been followed to begin with.
Anti-City Slicker is anti-Zionist. Is that what we're saying? Is that the new...
Well, look at pod planning.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Compact Mag article about this.
Yeah, a great person told me about this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see...
I've seen so many smooth-talking rats coming down here to shake, rattle, roll.
Oh, I see what you mean. Woulda, shoulda, coulda just strung them up. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, things have changed, man. We got lucky with our neighborhood, but most everybody stays inside. Too many new people bringing in their bullshit where it ain't wanted. This Weinstein dude's only been here for 6 months. I've seen so many smooth-talking city rats come down here, shake, rattle, and rolling. I think they just dumbfounded the country folk. Hell, there's folks saying we coulda, shoulda, woulda just strung them up. And so that's like the first conversation that Boss and AR have.
It's great character dialogue, as they have a lot of bouncing about being goys and eating bagels, and so he naturally just reveals the hook a line of the plot.
Well, they do the meme where he's like, "Boy, I sure do love Jewish delis, though." It's like, yeah, they're really good. Love pastrami. Once we get up to heaven, it's like, well, it's just stuff on bagels. It's like, yeah, but lox and cream cheese is pretty good.
Oy vey. They even hit an
AR is like a closet hicklib. He's just like, oh, I can't wait to get to the city, try that food.
Oh, my tasty treats.
Miles, I want to give you your chance now. So we gotten through all that, and then there's that phone call we just described. AR's going. Wisa going home. AR is home, and he's with his family. Is this the part that made you seethe?
No, it was actually the park. I guess from just a realism perspective, now that I'm really thinking about it, it still pisses me off. But so you have basically 3 out of shape, foul creatures who are going around murdering people.
4.
You expect me
four
to
out of shape foul creatures.
4,
yeah.
sorry. You expect me to believe that not only are they competent in a knife fight with a 23-year-old, but they survive getting shot and they escape and they're running through the woods. And they also outrun this 23-year-old back into the woods where they are then kicked into a creek. I don't know. Like, I feel like if he had been thinking about this for maybe 2 more minutes, he wouldn't have chosen such like an obvious, oh, well, it's inherently ugly, so let's just kind of put it out there. I don't know.
Oh, that like no amount of testosterone is going to make a woman competitive with a man.
Correct. And I feel like he just picked like the pagan cat lady trope as like the ultimate like sign of ugliness and evil in the world and just stuck with it because it's so antithetical to typical Christianity. I don't know. This is what really kind of put me into a rage earlier. Now I'm too exhausted just thinking about this book to really get that mad about it. But this is really just plays again back into the tonal inconsistency where you have, it's, all about like the devil and all this horrible evil, but then you look at it from a bird's eye view and you're like, okay, so you got a 21-year-old, assuming he's not like fat, out of shape. I mean, he's probably good looking. He could bag 2 girls, sisters, mind you, back to back.
Yeah.
And he's having this big epic knife fight with a out of shape troon. He's also got a gun. I don't know.
I find it believable enough because it's not. They never really describe it too much as full frontal. The more harder was to swallow one for me was the assault when he's talking to the bird watcher during the jump him and chop the hands off the guy. Like that's a little more like it's just like this sudden shadow and. It's like maybe it's superpowers. Maybe this is magic, demonic magic. I don't know.
I think he just wanted. He had the idea and the vision for what happened to our favorite Jew friend from New York, and just was like, okay, how am I going to get there? I'll have AR get knocked out and then find his body when he wakes up.
It can be done. Like he references actually like with the left breast cuttings. Like some of that is I assume is references to like some of the satanic ritual killings of the 80s, 90s, early 90s. And that stuff was not done by like super buff military guys oftentimes. At least that's not who it's attributed to. So sometimes it is like the element of surprise and
but like a non-buff dude is still stronger than virtually any woman. So like to be clear, guys are way stronger than women.
Yeah, we're not arguing against that. It's more just whether who are the victims, right? Typically the victims were the kids, the child, Audrey or Aubrey, whatever the kid's name was.
Yeah. Now, a woman who is taking androgens is definitely stronger than a 12-year-old girl, right? So,
yeah, I think what it came across to me is like he was using this idea of like a scapegoat to really present an ultimate evil, and in my mind, the book should have been aimed more towards here is the evil that's in your backyard. I think that would have been a little bit more interesting.
Because this is a Scott-Irish story. This part is ethnos.
Well, hold on, let me finish. I think if he was building up this story that he seems to have been presenting, at least as I read it, as we're going to get some down-home justice for these killers, I would assume these killers are people who are in the backyard. Someone who's like a part of the story. You could have made Johnny Collard Green the killer and that would have been perfectly fine. You're like, haha, I fooled you. I was the evil in your backyard the whole time. Instead, it's just like 3 faceless people who add nothing to the story, who have an unrealistic fight that ends with him putting on a goat head and then they get lynched in the backyard and fed to pigs. It was just like really sloppy, really bad. The ending was just poor.
Yeah, not having any like introduction to like Devil Troon, and basically like not having any intro. Like there's a whole third member of the coven who just like wasn't even
the girlfriend maybe
at all.
That's who I thought might be the girlfriend.
The mohawk and who was the girlfriend and the dreadlocks we at least saw before, right? Like we at least saw them. Like they don't all have to
but the third one was basically cut content,
fully featured characters, but there was literally nothing on the third one. And it should have been like a character with dialogue,
gathered intelligence,
or something.
Like, I found like a base of operations that they had worked out of like a campsite. That would have been, which a little bit you got with the killing of the kids, but that scene was never investigated that way. It was a reaction, and then he's gone.
So
no, that was pretty much it. Just saying, like, there's a couple ways you could have. And I think that goes back to the expectations thing. If this is a murder mystery kind of thing, then you need those elements to have a satisfying end. You need to be able to like get a little more into the psychology of what this cult is and what it's like. I would have loved to have had a few chapters on that.
Yeah. There's a movie that I saw recently that actually did this. Oh, the killer is totally disconnected from the main story really well. It's a Korean movie called Memories of Murder. And what happens is they actually never catch the serial killer in the movie. And at the end, about 25 years later, the main detective goes to the rain sluice where they find the first body. And a kid comes by and says, "What are you looking in there for?" He goes, "Oh, something happened here a long time ago." She said, "That's interesting. There was a man here just yesterday who said the exact same thing. He said that he was here and he did something very important here some time ago." And he said, "Well, what did he look like? What did he sound like?" And she goes, "I don't know. He was just kind of ordinary." And you get like this really kind of very slow zoom into the detective's face where he realizes he's gonna have to live the rest of his life never knowing who that serial killer was. And that's a really good way to have a character that's completely disconnected, but it's his impact on the story is monumental. These characters feel like they were kind of pulled out of a hat and then just dropped in and said, "Okay, now we're going to tidy up the story and we're going to push it into a little box and kind of push it off and send it off into the sunset." I called it sloppy earlier. That's unfair. PCM is a very careful writer and he takes a lot of thought into his writing. I just think he maybe either overthought this or was just like, "Okay, I'm at the end and I don't have like a murderer, so I'm going to make up something that I think represents the ultimate evil, and that's going to be satisfactory for me," which I disagree with strongly, very strongly.
Yeah, and I also don't think that it like. I think that he developed a lot of themes as well that similarly did not pay off.
Like, you talking about some of the spirituality,
like the Great Devourer thing, like the exorcism scene. If there had been like, if you had to like taken that section of the book and done anything else with it, right? Like taken that time to flesh out, I don't know, some troon school teacher who's trying to do something retarded, or any sort of other conflict, like something to have wrapped in the total storyline. Like that's what you should have spent your page count on, right? Or I mean, and there are other like miscellaneous things that feel like they're hanging, like boss's wife Maggie, who appears in a couple phone calls. It's like it doesn't. Who just to tell AR to go to the lake house, or you have permission to stay at our house if you don't have anywhere else. Like why was that even, why was she even in there? You know what I mean? When we didn't do the introduction of the person who was the murderer ever, right?
Yeah, or even the drug dealer. Yeah. He was a cool character, but like maybe, there's just a lot of ways you could have merged a few of these characters and just made them
you could tie up the cycle of preachers.
Yeah, just have one,
right?
One guy has like two conversations.
I like the cycle of preachers.
No, it's okay to have a cycle of preachers. I just don't think that there's they could have been arranged in such a way that it was a dialogue, but like that you hear point counterpoint or something like that, but they also like weren't organized in that way. So
I think not the counterpoint. Well, Miles is correct in a technical plot first oriented way. I think the symbolism was quite obvious. This is a story of ethnos. This is a story of people trying to protect their way of life, and culturally, I mean, the reason why I sent that screenshot was basically true. These are people from the city. These are Yankees, right? These are people with who are foreign pathogens in our body of our lives and in our children. What do they do to the children? What does the troon do to children? They cut off their breasts. I mean? It's...
Yeah, I mean, I get that. and I get the Great Devourer portion of it.
They're carpetbaggers.
It just didn't land for me.
I think you just keep coming back to plotting. Like, there's just something with the plotting. I don't think it's necessarily a page count either. Like, I think it could have been this length. It just needs some noodling on it. I don't want to get too prescriptive. Kind of throwing out a couple ideas. I think it's cool. You know, we have some alternative stuff and
but the thing is, look at the symbolism of the ending lynching or the hanging, right? It's intertwined, right? Because it's not only because they're witches, because there are witches, they're Wiccans, but they're also carpetbaggers in the traditional.
They're not Wiccans. They're they're Satanists.
Oh, sorry, big distinction. Yeah. Sorry, big distinction. All right.
Well, yeah, there
is a distinction.
Wiccans don't typically sacrifice kids and are like Wiccans are mall goths who like buy a lot of incense.
They already post hot videos on TikTok. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But so the witches are hanged not only because they're witches, they're hung because they're also carpetbaggers, to use the traditional Southern term. Right, there's a reason why he used hanging. It's too much of an emotionally evocative because he loves Appalachia. The mountains are a character within this story, right? He talks about going on Stone Mountain and his mother taking him to Stone Mountain for the first time and seeing all that is needed to be seen, all the world for him. You know, the South is a character in this story. Yep. So I just think he is going for symbolism, both for the religious context of hanging and also the Southern context of hanging. I think this is the carpetbagger.
Nice.
Carpet. This was a certified carpetbagger.
This is a solid carpetbagger.
Yeah. I think that, you know, to go for more symbolism, I think you can't deny the Southern symbolism and them being ending it with a hanging. You can't.
Oh yeah, the theming is outstanding throughout this, and the symbolism is good. It's just overwhelming in parts. As we've elaborated on a few times. And so I kind of want to be time conscious. I think we're good. I think to close out the main plot, you know, he goes home, goes shooting with the fam, the parents of the dead child, even join in the shooting.
Yeah, Osby's mom says she wants to shoot guns. They're like, it's too dark. We don't have any targets. And they're like, the whole world.
Yeah. She's like, the whole world. Though.
Not only the world, the moon included. She brings up the moon too.
Yeah.
Yep. And AR succeed in his mission. That's.
And it gets his harem.
So we
any closing thoughts? You know, he left his Goth GF at home, which is kind of lame, to be honest. Like that's one thing I would say fix if there's a. I'm not asking for revisions, but if there's a revision, that's the one that really needs to be made. Invite her to the mountain.
Well, because she basically gets indoctrinated. She's a symbol of indoctrination, right? Because with the vision thing about rebirth and reincarnation, there's this line where Boss tells him about Lizzie and about her. She says, quote, "If Lizzie had died, it would have happened 6 minutes apart time-wise, like her birth. I suppose it's bittersweet, if not just bitter, but there's a relief in knowing they were still connected." This is right after the whole vision quest.
Yeah.
You know, so... It's whole reincarnation of time loops in one eternal timeline.
Yeah, I don't think I even have any further thoughts, to be honest. I think I pretty much got them all out. I don't know if you guys have any more.
I do. I just like to say I know I've been harsh on PCM. I typically am very harsh when it comes to these reviews, but he's a great writer. He has very, very good control, very clear vision, and a very, very nice stamp on his prose. I think the only thing that I can say is that you just have to reel it in a little bit more and pick something to really follow through with completely, because if you don't, you get something that's either entirely overwhelming and completely isolated, which is not going to be very interesting to read for a lot of people, or you're going to get something that is kind of bland and doesn't follow any path. So, I mean, the prose is fine. You don't need to work on anything for that. I really would suggest working on tying in the realism more with something that you're obviously really passionate about, which is the religious ideology and the themes, at least for this book. Please just reel it in. I don't want to scroll through 6 or 7 pages and think, oh God, when is the book going to get exciting again? So good job on this book for a first novella. Excellent job.
Fuck off.
All right. Last. Anybody else like?
Since mine is positive, I'd rather do either Cap or you next.
I already said I don't have any closing thoughts.
Cap,
Additional.
you did. Yeah.
I believe that we have fucked this
amen,
duck.
Amen.
Well, in that case, I will crack the rat. I think overall I end up really struggling with this novel. There's so much genuine talent and mood and character and just comfiness in this. I'm looking at it through all my notes of good lines. I just think he has done a lot to improve as a writer since we last recovered him. Think about how leaps and bounds this story is compared to oh fuck yeah. Think about how leaps and bounds better this is to the last story we did. And because you see flashes of similar themes and similar motifs of the story about the man who jumped off the bridge in his last work we reviewed. And I reflected in here, and it has all of the best parts of that and more. The dialogue, the banter is amazing. Between him and Boss, between him and the girl. Every time the two characters talk, it's great. The father, I wanted more of the father where he actually interacts with his dad more. Like, a lot of my criticisms is I wish this was a 300-page novel. I think I think he has stamina issues. I think again it kind of rushes to the ending to a certain degree. But I think if he had the stamina, this could have been easily a 300-page novel. A lot more character interactions to flesh out the moods, to give it a little more space to breathe. That's my biggest criticism is I actually wanted more. I really do like Atticus as a character. Oddly enough, he is a very emotionally vulnerable character. A lot of the characters are fully 3D. Boss is a real character. Miss Belle, as her last name is, the Southern Belle, is also a character. I really want to see more of this world overall. The weakest part is, like what Miles says, is the plot. The villains are non-existent. They are just there to fast forward the plot and kill his girl and give him a religious epiphany. That's it, basically, for all intents and purposes. But I saw his vision, and he has a talent for wordcraft. He is a prose stylist. Yeah. Does he get indulgent? But at least he tries with prose. He's not a plot fag. He's a prose fag, desperately being tortured by a plot fag to make this into a 3-part structure. And would I say tone it down? At least for the voice part, yes. But when it's character focused, that baseball scene or talking about the mountains, it's beautiful. I love that. My favorite part probably was the first date or every scene he had with the girl, because he could just not be pretentious or not worry about the meta themes of like William Blake and life and death and creation and resurrection, and like he can let that be a side. That's a side plot, and mold it independently and organically through the plot. It's the background, and the characters mold into that background while still standing out. There's a lot of beauty in here, and I really, really did enjoy those moments of beauty. I just think, you know what? Since we're in Appalachia, I'd say this is a good chunk of coal. And I mean that as a compliment. This coal's a good thing in Appalachia.
Yeah, I would have never have known that.
Yeah,
it's
a lore thing.
Appalachia, the place of West Virginia and Kentucky. The coal strikes from the 70s and 60s.
Just in response to your thing,
American
Gabe,
historian.
I guess I would have a very different takeaway just in terms of the length. I'm nervous if we are giving any recommendation at all that making it longer would help, because I remember there was similar plotting issues in the short story in the Double Dealer, and that was our issue with that one too. It was like too many scenes packed in, because I just checked it out again in anticipation of this, and I guess if I had any suggestion, I would say let's focus on plotting in a shorter work you can tackle quickly rather than a huge giant. Because I think if this was longer, unless the plotting mechanics, underlying stuff was dealt with, it could be an issue. But I'm repeating myself, so I will.
I'm being selfish. I just want more character moments. I want to see him hanging out with Boss more. I want to see him hang out with his dad
likewise.
More. I want to see him in the Waffle House more. Those scenes were great. I really like those scenes.
Yeah, they're really good.
I want him in the Pizza Hut.
Yes.
I want him in the Taco Bell. I want him in the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell.
A Costco preacher. Could you imagine?
No,
I want to hear the good words of the $1.50 hot dog combo.
no, that's where that's where the preacher wanders. He wanders from the Waffle House to the 3 a.m. open Taco Bell. If you can't handle me at my worst, you can handle me at my best.